We are the home for the Kings, Raiders, the NFL, and the A's. It's Sactown Sports 1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show.
He's on the microphone when he's not on the microphone. He's playing a song, and when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone. And then
Boom! With Jason Ross.
Jay! Hey! My headset's
Text or call the show at 916-339-1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
Here we go. Hello, hi. I feel like there should be some canned applause right there. I should start doing that. Welcome in. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. Or were you buffing up the?
No, I was can applauding.
Oh, I got you.
I opened the can.
You did.
And I applauded.
You opened a can of applause. Good morning. Carmichael Dave, Jason Ross, Jay Mars, all of you. Good to be with you on a Tuesday, August 16, 2022. As Jay Mars
comes Jay
coming to the studio to fix Jason's camera.
I think it's yours.
To fix my camera. Yep, that's great.
Mine's right here.
Yeah, a little more. Yeah. Oh, he's looking at your thingy, dude.
That's you.
And by thingy, I mean your display.
That was before the show.
1-800-920-1140 if you have thoughts that you just want to get on the radio so you can tell your friends. 916-339-1140. That's your text line if you want to text us and say hi. Thank you to Jason and Jay for filling in. I don't know. Moving the chairs around yesterday.
Doing the show, you mean?
It's a rarity, you guys having to do that. So thank you for that. I think I was looking at it. I think I have one more scheduled thing to do before Christmas. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, days off are pretty much over.
No days off.
No days off. Nope. Football coming. Basketball coming. We got more on that. Broke the story yesterday. KHTK broke the story that the Kings will open in October, but also against Portland. Actually, I didn't know when I tweeted it, though. I did not know if it was a home or away game. I just knew they were going to open against Portland on the 19th. So that's good. So we can all write that down on our calendars.
Okay.
And it will be a home opener, which is neat.
We'll have 40 more after that.
40 more home openers?
Yeah. No, 40 more home games.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you knew something.
Yeah.
Wow. And then they're moving? Why?
Yes.
We have to do this all over again
No,
in 40 years.
No.
I can't handle it.
Yeah.
I'll be like 90. I'm not up. No RV trips at 90. It wouldn't work.
It'd be different. It'd be a different experience than what you had before, yes.
We'd be peeing a lot more, I can
Yes.
tell you that. Thank you to you guys. I was down in Lollerland for the annual golf trip I go on. Thank you to Phil Oates and that whole crew for always letting me tag along and be America's passenger on that stuff and hanging out with the best and the brightest and trying to fit in. And it was great because we usually will find out when we get down there it's Cedric the Entertainer's charity golf tournament. They raise a ton of money for some great causes. So it's always an awesome tournament with a bunch of people there. And yesterday there were, as always, a ton of different athletes, celebrities, stuff like that. It's kind of neat to see him in that environment. Dr. J just walking around. Hey, Doc. How you doing?
Yeah.
He's just Dr. J-ing and you still get tingly. We find out who are playing.
You should ask the doctor what you can do for that.
What, for the tingles?
Yeah.
He'd know. Julius would know. That's what I call him. I call him Julius.
Julius, yeah.
Hey, Julius, how you doing? We find out who our playing partners are. Generally, the night before, they have a pairing party, if you will, which is just basically a schmooze fest. We did not know until we walked up to our cars who our playing partner was. And we found out that there's two groups in our group. There's two foursomes. And in my buddy Phil's group, their playing partner was Brian Wilson, the Giants.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Brian Wilson, beard, all that.
Except for Sans beard now.
No beard.
Yeah.
A little weird.
Yeah.
Weird without the beard. And so that's awesome. And then we didn't know who we got. And it's always like a mixture of we want to have somebody cool, but we also would like to have somebody who can golf. I won't mention names, but we've had partners before who are like literally 90, not literally, but like we had one in his 80s. We had the late Sam Jones, which was amazing, but I think at the time he was like 80.
Mm-hmm.
What Sam made up for in not really golfing, that, I mean, and you can't blame him, but like a guy who has 10 rings.
Yes.
Like, oh my God, tell stories, please. And he was happy too, which was awesome. But I go to the cart behind us because it's our cart, then the next cart. So that's the four of us. And then the cart behind that's our celebrity. And I see the tag on it. It says S. Leonard. And I'm like, oh my God, is it Sugar Ray? But then we started thinking, we're like, what about like, could it be like Shane Leonard or Sean Leonard? Like, is there another Leonard?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't have a golf bag on it. And then they bring the golf bag up while we're standing there. And of course, the clubs all say Sugar Ray. It's like, oh my God, we're teamed up with Sugar Ray, which is crazy, which is because they do it. They must do it randomly because Sugar Ray's, going to be top 5 celebrity there. So then you get a little bit nervous because you never want to meet your heroes. You do, but you get nervous about it. And there was almost no chance Sugar Ray Leonard was going to suck and just be not a great guy. But you don't know.
Right.
People get older and crotchetier and whatever, and you just never know. Spoiler alert, he was awesome. He's just a pure soul. He really is. He's just a nice guy, a charitable guy. I don't think I heard him swear once. Not that matters, but just one of those guys that's just a good dude.
And apparently still swinging, not just the golf club.
So we hit it off, and I shouldn't say trading stories. He's telling stories, and I'm just absolutely listening to I'm hanging on every word. We're all having a good time. We hit it off. And then we're a lot of times, like there was a hole where there's like, and anyone who's played a golf tournament knows this, like whatever hole has the barbecue stop or the hot dog stop, it's going to be a log jam. So we are at the big log jam where the barbecue stop is. And so we're all just sitting around BSing and all that. And then I didn't even hear the conversation with our friends who were talking to Sugar Ray. And I don't know if it was like, when was the last time you hit a heavy bag, or do you still work out at it? And so all of a sudden I feel this hand on my shoulder and I hear Sugar Ray. And this is where the video starts that I put out on Twitter. It's like, yeah, every once in a while I'll stand people up and, hit the bag, but I like to hit people in person and whatever. And so he's looking at me. I'm like, I don't know what's going on here, but okay, of course I'm going to play along. It's Sugar Ray Leonard. And he kind of puts his hands on my hands and like lifts them up into like a boxing stance, like a weak boxing stance. And so I'm just sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, I know what's going to happen because everyone has their cameras out. I know this. I've seen this before. Like he's going to do like a little, little punch to, hold the punch to my gut.
Or like shadow punching or something.
Right. Or shadow boxing, hit my t-shirt, He's like, all right, so you stand here. And he goes, just, all right, you ready? I don't even know if he said ready, actually. It's all a blur. But I'm standing with my my fists up, like my stupid pose. And then he hits me hard. And I was not expecting it. I did not. Let me be clear. Even if I was expecting it, it still would have been hard.
Yeah. But the next couple, I think you were able to like tighten.
What happened was he hit me so hard, and like it wasn't a liver shot, but it was right in that area, just to give you an idea, with this left to the body. And if you look at the video, we've talked a lot over the years about the difference between regular people and professionals. And
right.
How you can see the difference in a professional. Sugar Ray Leonard's been on the earth for a while. He's still a professional, and his form was ridiculous, and his power was ridiculous. And it just, 66 years old. So he hits me, and I almost went into like shock. I was so stunned by this. And then thank God that part of that shock was muscles in my stomach I didn't know I had tightened up, but I also didn't know that there was going to be about 20 punches over the next 5 seconds. Granted, not as hard as the first one, but hard enough to where I'm not a small person. Sugar Ray Leonard is 5'10". and I think he's actually more like 5'8" now because, older people shrink. I think he's about 5'8". He hit me in succession so hard that if you watch the video on Twitter, I eventually fall back to where I have to kind of catch myself because the punches are going. And then everyone laughed.
He's getting hit.
Here's a fun thing that I didn't include on Twitter, but it's true. Generally on these trips, we eat like garbage because we're in a hotel room and we're eating snacks. And did I have a lot of peanut M&Ms over the weekend. Let's put that way. Peanut M&Ms, beef jerky, nacho cheese Doritos. You're basically eating like a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I had been eating like such crap. And then that morning, I didn't feel well. And there were symptoms to that. There were symptoms to my stomach issues that had been happening that morning.
Yeah.
When he hit me, I honestly thought I was going to poop my pants. I didn't, but the day would have just gotten that much worse because imagine, we've all been there before. Imagine that that's what happened, and then you have 9 more holes of golf to play in 85-degree weather,
right?
And you don't have any of your clothes with you. You can't see that on the video, but
now we can imagine it.
Hall of Famer Sugar Ray Leonard almost literally beat the ass out of me. Didn't work out that way, and now it's a great story. And as we break, I will say this. I thought maybe my stomach would hurt the next day, maybe not. I don't know. It hurts. Like, it actually feels like I did an ab workout. It actually is bruised. Chris Guerrero's on the chat saying, I wouldn't let him hit me. Okay. But also aptly pointing out you could see the fat in my stomach like ripple every time he hit it. So that's my experience story with Sugar Ray Leonard. That was fun. Thank you to Phil. Thank you to everybody down there for raising a lot of good money for a lot of good causes, and we'll have more stories, I'm sure, next year. We have a ton of stories for you today on the program. In just about 2 months, we will have Sacramento Kings basketball, and that's the good news. The bad news is the Kingdom lost a legend yesterday, and we will reflect on that leading off in just 60 seconds.
Live and past broadcasts of the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and Cattles and Robbie. Interviews, podcasts, and more. They all live on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. Download the app now in the App Store and Google Play. Let's do it. It's time for Leading Off. Brought to you by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge, where for over 60 years, their name means a great deal in Elk Grove Auto Mall and online at elkgrovedodge.com. Here's cut number 1.
I'm pausing because through no fault of Jay Mars.
For drama.
I want to pause for drama because guess what's coming?
123, 121. Here's the second one. He's got them both. No timeout available for Portland. They've got to go the length of the floor. They need 3. Will the Kings foul? Here comes Lillard. Step back. Straightaway 30-footer. Rims it. Doesn't get it. Fox had it. Lost it. Horn sounds. Ball game's over. And the Kings steal one in Portland on opening night from the Trailblazers. Sacramento, after an unbeaten preseason, after an unbeaten summer league in Las Vegas, starts the 82-game grind with a narrow 3-point victory in Portland, 124-121. Only the 13th regular season win by the Kings in Portland in 73 attempts.
I think I speak for all of us. It's so pleasant to hear early season, not beaten down, excited, happy Gary Gerald.
Absolutely.
Then as the season wears on, it wears on the gentleman so much, like it wears on us all, and you can hear that quality of the call is still there, but as the losses pile up,
the frustration gets in there, and
But a well-rested G-Man and hopefully a well-rested Kings team will take on the Portland Trailblazers. That'll be at Golden One Center, first home opener in 4 years, first opener I should say at home in 4 years. That'll be October 19th. Jay, I'm blanking here. Did Dame Lillard play that game last year?
Yes.
Yeah, and then was hurt after that. So
well, that's why he stopped playing was after that.
It was
game.
an embarrassment.
Yeah.
This will be a good. This honestly, I think they're opening against the team. They're gonna, if they end up fighting for the play-in, that's probably who they'll be fighting for the play-in with.
So an important tiebreaker game, you're saying already.
I mean, honest to goodness, it's going to be interesting if the first game of the season ends up affecting play-in and or playoff position. But the calendar will turn. Next month, we will have media day towards the end of the month, and you'll be hearing all kinds of sights and sounds and seeing photos, and then training camp opens, and the Kings have, I think, 47 people under contract going into there, so it'll be nice and full, and they'll have to roll in some extra lockers. And then before you know it, we'll have Kings basketball right here on the Sporty 1140, Sactown Sports 1140.
Yeah, I think the rest of the schedule's scheduled to come out tomorrow. So I know there's been leaks and different things, but that's all right. It'll be out, and we'll know the path for the Kings.
Yeah, if first off, it'll leak this afternoon. You'll start seeing everybody posting. The Kings will have a season high 7-game road trip. In fact, that's all going to come out today. What I'm hoping is we can get a little bit more detail. KHTK was first to report yesterday that the Kings would open against the Blazers October 19th. I'm hoping to get a little more detail before 9 o'clock. We won't get the full schedule, but I think we'll be able to get, if we do, some key dates, maybe some key matchups as well. In the meantime, it's not all good news in the world of the Kings. Number 2.
Cut number 2.
Is this Doug Christie talking?
This is Doug Christie talking now. What's up, baby?
Well, I'm doing all right. I was thinking about you the other day.
Uh-oh.
No, it was good.
The term legend gets thrown around way too much. That's fine. Pete Carril is 100% a legend. Princeton, and you saw the headlines yesterday. This is how amazing his career was. Princeton coaching legend Pete Carril passes away was pretty much the headline everywhere. And it should have been. His sub-act, if you will, his secondary act to his career was being the architect of one of the most influential offenses in NBA history. And I'm obviously biased as a Kings fan, but I don't think I'm talking out of school here at all. That, listen, the West Coast offense and Bill Walsh and that whole thing is one thing in the NFL. But if you had to compare something like that as far as a renaissance goes, there are so many offenses now, including the Golden State Warriors offense, that either come directly from or directly ripped off or are second cousins to Pete Carril's Princeton offense. His influence on the Sacramento Kings and the run they had. No offense to Jeff Petrie or Rick Adelman or anyone else, but Pete Carril was the Tex Winter to Phil Jackson, if you will, of that era. And oh, by the way, they called him Yoda for a reason. He was just a fountain of knowledge. One of the things that I regret in my career, not my fault, not anyone's fault, I was just too young for it, is that I didn't have an opportunity to interact with Coach other than meeting him a couple times.
Right.
You did.
Yeah, fantastic human being. And it was one of those things that, kind of like you said, with the people you got a chance to play golf with over the years down at that Cedric the Entertainer, sometimes you just listen.
Yeah.
Like, what am I going to say that's more impactful than Coachy?
Right.
So I just listened.
Right.
And he was obviously a basketball savant, but he liked history, and he liked to share like real world stories. And so there was almost like a lesson all the time you talked to him. So I know today you heard part of that interview. We'll hear an interview we had with him just over a year ago with Doug and I, and then Jerry will be on again today to kind of reflect. I mean, he obviously was way closer, but brilliant at coaching. And, to the credit of, you brought up Adelman and Petrie, they're the ones, Petrie brought him in. Adelman maybe with some resistance at the beginning, but then accepted him, and then they all grew together. I mean, which is great for the team.
Jeff Petrie, of course, connected to him going to Princeton as well. Every time I would hear Pete Carril talk, my visual was always, and I know this never happened, but seriously, like end of practice, Jason Williams, Chris Webber, Doug Christie, everybody kind of just sits down on the hardwood and gathers around, and then Coachy sits down on a chair in front of him and just opens a book, and it's story time.
Yeah.
And he just had the voice and the cadence and the delivery and the knowledge to you could listen to him read the phone book all day.
But you know what's interesting, at the time when he was here, so we're talking 20 years, he seemed older then, and he was, earlier 70s.
Sure.
Well, we look at Weber now as 50 and Doug at 50 and so on. And these guys were in their 20s. And wait, who am I listening to? I'm sure they knew who he was.
Of course.
But right at the beginning, his little shuffle and his waddle that he'd get out there, and it's kind of soft spoken, but he knew what he's talking about.
Knew what he was talking about. You don't have to carry a big stick to be listened to if you carry that type of gravitas. And that's what Coachy did. Well, we'll talk more about him throughout the day. You and Doug had a chance to visit with him a little over a year ago. We're going to replay that in the 8 o'clock hour. And then, as you said, Coach Jerry Reynolds will join us to give us some personal experience, as well as Jerry often will do. Number 3.
Cut number 3.
Right in there, strike 3 call. They take game 1 from Arizona. Giants 6, D-backs 1.
I don't care how many times it happens. Seeing Madison Bumgarner in a Diamondbacks jersey is very Jerry Rice Broncos. It's just weird, and I don't like it. And to be honest with you, I'm glad the Giants won. Hooray. I don't like seeing him getting batted around. And he did. 8 hits, 6 earned. It was not a great outing for him. It hasn't been a great year.
His fall off has happened pretty dramatically.
He's near the end.
And for you as a Giants fan, you have to at least appreciate, like, you by far got the best years out of him. Legendary years. Helped winning some World Series. And, the cliff has happened, and he has fallen off it.
This year and next year, I would think. He's about done. And, good. Hey, listen, who's to tell him when he should back off? 4-6 with a 3.99 ERA. Alex Cobb finally got it below 4. The Giants beat the Diamondbacks 6-1. And for Giants fans, there's always that tingle because this is a team that can get hot. They are officially hot. They've won 4 in a row.
Woo-hoo!
They've won 7 to 10. Now the schedule's helped them out a little bit. Let's not forget with the Diamondbacks and the Pirates and stuff. But the Diamondbacks are right there. The next team down in the wild card race. The Giants currently 5.5 back of the, should I say, reeling Padres, if you will. Ever since I declared my Padres fandom, it's been tough for them. So
Tank City.
Back to the Giants. Let's go. We'll take a break. Speaking of baseball, for Chris Guerrero, we will go round the horn in baseball next. The Dodgers lose a star. We'll just, trade for another. And the A's lose. Well, we'll break that down. Not really. We'll do all that after this.
The start of the NFL season is upon us, and Sactown Sports 1140 has all your coverage.
Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and of course, all the NFL action every Sunday.
Your home for the NFL all season long. Sactown Sports 1140. Celebrity from Carmichael
How popular do you want to be?
meets a Celtics broadcasting legend.
Celtics are going to go for the win. Everybody here at Golden One Center on their feet.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
Coming up at 7 a.m., there's a big meeting today amongst PGA Tour players. They're flying in a ringer.
Yes, they are. The biggest ringer.
The biggest ringer of all. They're bringing in a cat. Wow. Tiger Woods coming in to lay down the lumber. This player's only meeting, by the way, Jay Monahan, the PGA Tour commissioner, is not going to be in attendance as they try to get on the same page. Also not expected to be there, Cam Smith, the number 2 player in the world. He is widely expected to announce after the FedEx Cup he will be leaving for the Live Golf Tour. Sometimes sports talk show hosts do off-the-wall teases just to keep an audience that make no sense. I don't like doing that. I'm not doing that right now at 7 a.m. I will tell you why the PGA Tour and Jay Monahan should bring me in. I should be, you have to
you're the choice?
You have to have a wartime consigliere. Okay. You have to. Jay Monahan is not a wartime consigliere. He's an executive. He is good at doing the deal and making the speech. You have to have a wartime consigliere. I'm serious here. Obviously not about bringing me in, but I know how to beat this. And I've been thinking about it all weekend long. I absolutely know what the PGA Tour should do, what they're not doing, what they need to do. And I will lay out the steps as to how, maybe not immediately, but eventually, I would say within 12 months, they could absolutely crush the LA.
We'll call Tiger. Let him know.
I left him a message.
Okay.
I should have Sugar Ray if he had Tiger's number.
Yeah, exactly.
I could have texted him. Also, before we get to baseball here, just random. I have no other place to put this. Paul Feinbaum is, you may know him. He's a very recognizable guy if you know his face. He's a man who is follically challenged, but he's going for the reverse mohawk. He does not care, and he's grown it out a little bit. But he is also a college football savant. I very much respect his college football knowledge, which is why when I heard this quote, I went, has Paul been, has he been smoking the weeds or something? I don't know. Here it is.
Sometimes you can be delusional in the moment. And listen, I don't need to explain Kentucky basketball, but right now in 2022, when billion-dollar deals are being made across the board, it's about football. It's not about basketball. And I mean, you might legitimately be able to have heard Mike Krzyzewski say a year ago that we're a basketball school, but even at Duke today, you probably couldn't make that statement. And you certainly can't make it at Kentucky.
Paul, you're smoking, dude. Kentucky's a basketball school. Kentucky is 100% a basketball school. Now, don't get me wrong, it's SEC football, and SEC football is crazy. And I'm sure you could work numbers because of college football as a whole and what a behemoth that is.
Yeah.
It's a basketball school. I spent the whole weekend with a guy who used to be a team manager for Coach Cal, who is as embedded in Kentucky sports, went there. We talked a lot about this and not about Paul's quote,
right,
but just about this crap going on between Stoops and Calipari. And Calipari shouldn't have said the things he said, and he backed off, and that's fine. And, they should all be in the same gang here. But ask any Kentucky fan what matters. And here's priorities in Kentucky in no particular order. Kentucky basketball, the Keeneland horse races. Notice I don't say Churchill Downs. I'm saying Keeneland out there. Kentucky versus Louisville in basketball, and then Kentucky basketball.
Right.
UK.
Yeah. Name all the players that from Kentucky football.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. Right. And for Paul to say that, Coach Calipari runs Lexington. He is the mayor. He is the governor of Lexington. He's like me, an honorary colonel. Don't want to get into that. And I'm speaking
I like
now.
your chicken.
Thank you very much. And I do know all the herbs and spices.
Okay.
I am speaking as a Kentucky colonel officially. I do pay my dues. I do have a little card. Yeah, dude, Paul, you're
off base.
You're way off base. Wonderful job there, whether you meant to do it or not, as we go from off base to on base in the world of baseball. I hate the Dodgers. I hate them so much. I just hate them. I hate them passionately, but I hate injuries more. It's one of the few things I hate. Walker Buehler, Texas Ranger. No, he's a Dodger. Will have season-ending elbow surgery next week. That sucks. I want the Dodgers to lose every game, but I want them to lose it healthily. And we talked about this before, Jason. Outlaw injuries.
Yeah, I was saying this to Jay yesterday. The Dodgers are actually there's a chance they could set the record for most wins in the season.
Yeah.
And I said I was guessing on your behalf, you would probably love nothing more than for them to do something like that and then fall short in the playoffs.
Well, I experienced that with the Giants last year as they set their team record.
Their team record, which the Dodgers set their team record too.
Yeah.
But they could even go past that and maybe even set the major league record.
This is going to be difficult because you got Clayton Kershaw, who has not been reliable at all and is currently on the injured list. You have Urias, who is 20-game winner last year. Gonsolin's great.
Tyler Anderson.
Dustin
May's back.
I don't know how this will happen, and I don't even know if it's legal in the charter, but I expect sometime in the next 3 to 4 days the Dodgers to acquire Jacob deGrom.
Somehow.
Probably Max Scherzer.
I would think so.
Shohei Ohtani. Mm-hmm. Acquire maybe all three of them for like some minor leaguers and the Hollywood Bowl, and they'll be fine, for the rest of the year. I feel bad for Walker. Can I say it like this? I feel bad for Walker Buehler. I don't feel bad for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Is that insensitive? I feel like that's okay.
Right.
I feel bad for Walker Buehler.
Yeah, you don't care about the Dodgers. You care about the individual missing out on his season. They've done fine without him.
Yeah.
But they were thinking they were going to get him back.
Yeah, and Buehler, he's 28. I mean, he still has a lot of career left.
Oh, yeah.
But, man, speaking of Walker Buehler from Lexington, ask Walker Buehler if it's a football. He'll say it's a baseball school, not a baseball school.
Walker tells me it's a football school. No, he tells me it's a basketball school.
I know what you're doing, and I like it so much.
Dare you to say the real line.
Nope. Nope. Shout out Wilford Brimley. So Walker Buehler out for the season. That is I can't say catastrophic because of their depth, but that is a huge blow to the Dodgers. The A's. Well, let's start with this. Texas fired their manager. Manager comes in and shades of Phoenix when they parted from Jeff Hornacek. Or wait, what was that? It wasn't Hornacek 0-3, and then they played the Kings. This is like 3-4 years ago, right? They were 0-3. They fired Hornacek, and then they played the Kings, and they beat the Kings. You remember that?
I'm not remembering that.
I want to say that was like 3 years ago that happened. Obviously, beginning of the year, they were 0-3. Texas does the same thing, and the A's promptly lose to the Rangers, which made Ranger fans happy. What piles onto that for the A's, and poor A's fan has to hear this all the time. This is for Tim in the chat right now. It was a familiar face that tied the game.
Swing and a drive deep down the left field line. Kemp giving it a look, and it is gone. About 4 rows deep.
Yeah. Tim saying baseball's a little blah to him right now, being he is a baseball fan, but I don't blame him. He's an A's fan. And yeah, those Oakland A's, just 2.5 back of the Nationals for last place.
Hey,
I think it's smart, though. If you're going to fire your manager, do it before you play the A's.
Are they the get-right team?
Yes. Yeah. No, it makes it so much easier to justify.
They're the baseball's Robitussin. So the A's, will they take the rest of the year to get that number 1 spot? It's so funny because it doesn't work like it doesn't work like in basketball or football. It's like, you're just as likely to get a superstar Hall of Famer with the number 2 pick as you are with the
absolutely. In baseball, you can have them in 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Brian Taylors and Todd Van Poppels and Ben McDonald's of the world. So the A's, unfortunate, and we say we put a bow on the Chris Woodward era.
What a run!
What a run for Chris
Woodward. I could not have
Woodward.
identified him.
I could not have picked him out of the lineup if he had a name tag that said Chris Woodward. I would not have known he was the Rangers manager.
I used to know all the managers. I don't know baseball managers anymore.
Did you really, though?
Well, yeah, like back in the day.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Not now.
Jack McKeon. That's, to me, who manages everyone. Jack McKeon's always going to be my guy with no ties.
That's Sparky Anderson.
Jim Leland.
Sparky's no longer with us, right?
No.
Yeah. Sparky and Earl Weaver, Sparky, and Jim Leland.
Yeah.
I think Davey Johnson's managed everybody at this point.
Right.
That's when managing was managing.
Buck Showalter's managed everyone at this point.
That's true.
Tony La Russe is older than all of them. We'll take a break. The Kings will be playing real-life basketball in about 2 months. We've got those details. And does it get you excited? We'll ask that next.
Sactown Sports 1140 is your home of the Las Vegas Raiders for the 2022 NFL season.
Tune your dial to 1140 for all Raiders games.
Plus, you can listen online at SactownSports.com and on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. Sactown Sports 1140.
Sorry, I was producing. I just saw a tweet that, so I'm going to throw you guys a curveball here. I just saw a tweet from a guy named Nathan Baugh. The most watched documentary in Disney history is The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary. There's all kinds of fun facts in here about the viewers it averaged, how Jordan only made $4 million, why he decided reportedly to release the footage, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be a story today. So the director, Jason Hare, he's going to join us, provided he can get out of the meeting he's in. He's going to join us at 7:45 today. What are you hearing this?
Your phone's still on.
Oh, hi, Jason. Sorry,
Hi.
I never hung up on him. He's going to join us at 7:45, so we'll juggle there. But that'll be a fun little conversation there. I have a feeling some of this is a little exaggerated, but the director of the most watched, and it's got to be the most watched sports documentary, I would imagine, in history too. We need to have a conversation. We need to look back on that here in a little bit. We had him on every week, which was cool. You remember that we were working together when it came out, and it was just so weird, like COVID, everything shut down. It was the first real new material that came out. It was and Jason always has trouble communicating this because from a filmmaker's point of view, what a dream come true. You have a captive audience. Everyone's at home. They're all watching this. It's a nationwide, if not worldwide event. Everyone's gathered around their TVs like back in the day. You gather around the fire and listen to the alphabet chats and all that. It was all amazing, except people were dying, and it was a terrible reason. And Jason's always struggled with that because he's a really good guy. But it'll be interesting to talk to him about some of this stuff. And at some point, we should do a retrospective with him.
That's amazing. It's great television,
and changed a lot of things in a lot of ways that documentaries are done. Speaking of basketball, we now know, as KH2K reported first yesterday, the Sacramento Kings open their season October 19th versus the Blazers. If it feels like this is the first time in forever that the Kings have opened at home, it's not forever.
Yeah, it's just been a couple years.
Yeah, it's been about 4 years.
Yeah. Last time was Utah at home.
Wow. Look at you.
Yeah. They lost.
Yeah.
But they've won their last couple of openers.
They have, including last year. And I find myself wondering what Vegas is going to do with this game. My early line is that the Kings will be favored by 1.5.
Okay.
But I could see it being a pick, and I could see, obviously we don't know, hopefully no injuries, but we could see, different things change that. But I would imagine the Kings are going to be favored by a point and a half. But I also know that Damian Lillard's going to be back, and that's going to be one of the big stories. Is the biggest story, provided Kevin Durant doesn't get traded, and just throw that aside? Because, by the way, you still have Russell Westbrook, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant all floating around right now, which is incredibly interesting. And I expect one, if not all three of those, will be settled before the start of the season. So put those three aside because we can't predict that. Let's say that Durant, Irving, and Westbrook don't exist anymore. Is Ben Simmons' debut going to be the top story for opening night?
Got to be one of them, if not the biggest, right? Because we haven't seen him in so long. He hasn't played for them yet. There was so much hype about him specifically going there. I think that's it.
What if he comes back and he is like a 3-point savant? What if he's like Steph Curry from the three? That's all he's worked on. I would like to think that Ben Simmons, and I'm joking there, but I would like to think that Ben Simmons has taken all this time off, and obviously he's been rehabbing injuries too, but I would like to think he is like ridiculously obsessed with letting people know that he's a really good basketball player. He's taken a year and a half of unbelievable abuse. I'm not saying he's a victim and he doesn't deserve some of it. I think a lot of it is way over the line and he doesn't deserve, and nobody deserves that type of abuse. But his, for lack of a better term, his manhood, his athletic heart, they've all been questioned. I personally find myself when somebody is, and bullied gets thrown around a lot, but there's a little bullying going on with that. I would like for him to come back and just take a dump all over the NBA and just kill it.
Yeah, I don't know if I see him being that 3-point savant, but I have no ill will against him, but he's super talented, and we've been waiting to see him get back out on the floor. So I would think his return, it will be treated as the biggest story.
Sure.
So I think we follow it that way.
It's amazing too what the narratives have done and how effective narratives are to so many NBA fans. Like Earl's in our YouTube chat right now, and hello, YouTubers. And Earl's a smart guy, and Earl's a good sports fan. And he says the only quality player of the three, Westbrook, Irving, and Ben Simmons, is Kyrie. And I think Earl's probably gilding the lily a little bit there, but that is a ridiculous statement. Like, Ben Simmons has his shortcomings.
Right. All three of them do.
You're talking about a 25-year-old who career averages, 18, 8, and 8, 16, 8, and 8 on 56% shooting, and is a perennial all-defensive player of the year candidate. To have in your head that is not a quality player is insane.
Yeah.
He is not just a quality player. He is an elite player with also some, what's the opposite of elite? Some horrific shortcomings, mainly being his playoff performance or lack thereof, and his inability to shoot long range, which are big issues. But would I rather have on my team, for example, Ben Simmons' inability to shoot threes, but his ability to do pretty much everything else on the floor, including A-level defense, or would I rather have James Harden, who can shoot and pass and assist, but plays negative defense? Let me ask yourself that question.
Yeah.
Does this announcement, Jason, and the schedule leaks, again, we hope to have something in the next 2 hours. That's just a matter of if the right text gets returned. You will see most Kings leaks happen today. The schedule will officially be distributed tomorrow. But you will see, as you see every year, you'll see the James Hams and the Jason Andersons and the Sean Cunninghams of the world and others that'll, leak out road trips and special matchups, blah, blah, blah. Does this pump you up? You excited officially?
I don't know that it's this. I think it's the what happened with Keegan Murray in the summer. Last year's trade for Sabonis, the busy activity in the offseason, Mike Brown, like that's the tangible stuff. I mean, the schedule, Jay and I were talking about it yesterday. I get excited for it in the sense that for me, it's the roadmap of when the work they're all going to happen 41 home, 41 road. We joke about that, but I mean, that's the reality.
Yes.
And there'll be the different landmines that going in that we think, man, that stretch is going to be particularly tough. And then maybe it's not, or
Right.
this looks easy. And then as the season goes, maybe the Kings have 3 injuries or that other team's, you just don't know how it's going to play out until real time. But I'm just excited for this team anyway. I don't know that the schedule does it for me. And you like hearing the games.
Sure.
But yeah, let's go.
We're hearing the games. I like hearing the games on Sactown Sports 1140.
Well done.
G-Man. By the way, Gary Joe returning for the call.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can officially announce that.
Yeah.
I like what you said about the roadmap because you're right. Like, does this get me excited for the season? Yeah, but it really is. I think of it kind of like you, it's hurdles.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big hurdle on our way. And then next is, training camp. That's where it's really like, okay, here we go. Then next preseason game, and then the final preseason game, and then, 3 more sleeps till opening night. And the next thing you know, you're just over the moon for opening night, watching every single second of the game. And then eventually you get to game 34 and you're like,
yeah.
But
and then traditionally I would say is if when the schedule comes out officially and everybody looks at it, there'll be a homestand that people go, oh, that's where.
Right.
Well, look at what the Kings have done at Golden One. Like, they have not been a good home team.
No.
So generally we'll go, oh, after that road trip this month of February, when they're home 12 out of the 15 games, they've gone 6 and 9 in games like that or something. Like, they need to be much better than that at home.
Is Golden One Center a home court disadvantage? Jason Ross poses the question. We'll break that down. Absolutely never, because I don't want to know the truth there, because I think you're right. Are they? As a matter of fact, lifetime, they're pretty well under 500 at home, aren't they?
Yes. At Golden One, yes.
To be fair, they're also way under 500 on the road.
True.
But as a matter of fact,
they're just under 500.
Jason, have they had a 500 or better home record since it opened at home?
I don't believe so, but I'll research it.
Okay, well, crack research team Jason Ross on that as we take a break. When we come back, seriously, Tiger is joining the players for a player-only meeting today in Delaware, site of the next round of the FedEx Cup Championships, to figure out what to do. Everything is on the table, including the removal of the PGA commissioner or having him step aside. I have the solution. I'm dead serious. I know how to beat the LIV Tour. I know what the PGA needs to do, and I will explain it for them and for you next.
The start of the NFL season is upon us, and Sactown Sports 1140 has all your coverage.
Monday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and of course, all the NFL action every Sunday.
Your home for the NFL all season long. Sactown Sports 1140. Nobody protects KHTK AM and HD1 Sacramento, KYMX HD2 Sacramento, the flagship station of your Sacramento Kings. It's Sactown Sports 1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show.
He's on the microphone. When he's not on the microphone, he's playing a song. And when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone. And then boom.
With Jason Ross.
Jay, hey, my headset's
Text or call the show at 916-339-1140.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross
On Sactown Sports 1140.
Welcome back, 7 a.m. Jerry Reynolds, the coach, the legend, will join us to reminisce about the great coach Pete Carril, passed away yesterday. A lot of memories about him, Jason. You had a lot of interactions with him as well. It'll be good to hear about that. Not many in Kings history more legendary than Coach. You affected more. We'll talk to Jerry in the 8 o'clock hour. We're also going to hear from Jason Ayer of the Last Dance and so many other documentaries. Last Dance is now the most watched documentary in Disney history, and a lot of other things there as well. We'll have some fun with that. Tiger Woods. Tiger, much like Madonna, who will come up later.
Yes.
One of those that you need just one name. You don't need, if I say Tiger,
right?
Unless I'm talking about like a animal documentary, you know what we're talking about.
And he could have been Eldrick. That would have worked too.
Absolutely, 100% Eldrick would have worked. Had there been no Tiger, would Eldrick would have been just as good a golf? I feel like he would.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Tiger and the whole red.
I know, but he would have had the same persona.
Yeah. He's flying into Delaware, and what's going on is there is a players only meeting amongst most of the PGA top players will be there. A lot of members from the tour, but Tiger Woods is coming in. Sounds like Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, many others. Most others will be there because that's the site also of the next step of the FedEx Cup, which begins Thursday. I was not here yesterday. Congratulations to Will Zalatoris, by the way.
Won.
And we'll talk about that in a bit as well, because there was a fun story attached to that too. Part of the conversation is that it will be Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, and how to either help him, support him, provide more of a foundation, advise him. But there's also reports that and nothing's off the table, including removal,
right?
Or perhaps a lateral move for Jay. And I used the term wartime consigliere before, but there's some truth to that. I think that there are some executives that are built for peacetime, growth, and business and doing all that. And there are some that don't have the ability to really handle a full frontal assault, which is what the LIV Golf Tour is doing. And there's been a lot of hand wringing. I think at first it was, we're not taking this seriously. Greg Norman's a joke. Okay, Phil Mickelson's 51 years old, whatever. All right, Sergio Garcia, that stinks, but what? Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson,
right.
Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed. Oh, okay, it's starting to become a thing. And who else is here? Because it doesn't sound like Rory's going anywhere. It doesn't sound like Tiger's obviously going anywhere. But it's largely expected Cam Smith, number 2 player in the world with the mullet and the mustache, he's going over there, and who knows who could be next. I think I know how they can beat the LIV Tour. I've given this a lot of thought. The big thing that the PGA has tried to, but not really successfully gotten most people, I should say, to care about is the Saudi money connection. And the fact that this thing is being funded by the Saudi Wealth Fund. Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the Jamal Khashoggi, the journalist, and the whole killing there and everything that surrounded that, not to mention other human rights abuses. And I've long argued, hey, listen, there's human rights abuses in a lot of places with our big leagues, and we need to talk about them all or not talk about them. And I prefer we talk about them all, for the record. But I think whoever is in charge needs to step back and say, okay, we got to approach this thing differently. The whole, the history of the tour, and we're trying to build the game. And no, it's not going to work, because these guys are getting paid more and they're feeding their families and then some. And it's tough to get Americans, especially default people, making more money. They not only need to play up the Saudi connection, but they need to go even further. What they need to do is they need to politicize it. And I know that that's a slippery slope, but it's how they're going to beat it. They need to politicize it. They need to connect the Trump camp, the courses, the Saudis, all the crap that's going on right now. And they need to harness in a very non-overt manner, but there's many ways to do this. They need to harness that deep-seated hatred that about half the country. I mean, that's how the politics break down. Now, this isn't me endorsing one side or the other, so I don't need to hear your letters here. I'm saying this is the strategy. They need to start running commercials that show some of the things that have happened in the past. They need to play up the fact that you have a Saudi 9/11 connection. I mean, they need to take the gloves off and go at it. And here's how that's going to metastasize in the real world. One of the things I've always thought about golf that's crazy is that you have the most fan discipline of any sport by far. Think about the fact that you can, after 4 days in a tournament, or 3 days in LIV's case, you can have the most pressure-packed situation there is, whether it's the Masters, the U.S. Open, wherever it is. And you've got situations where guys are on a tee or guys are on a green. And what do they require in this sport? Absolute silence. And you've got half the crowd liquored up beyond belief. Yet somehow, Jason, you watch golf your whole life like I have. How many times do you recall in a true pressure situation? How many times do you recall somebody at the Masters needing a 2-putt for the win, and just as they're going back on their little stroke, somebody screaming at the top of their lungs?
It's usually right after. Get in the hole. Right after that.
Always is. Yeah. Right after this. Never before. Never on the tee box. Now you're going to remember like some journalist clicked a camera, or maybe a phone went off, or I've always wondered in this day and age how they managed to have that type of discipline amongst the audience. That's going to go out the window if you politicize this whole thing. And what you're going to start seeing now is you're going to start seeing, and again, I'm not necessarily saying this is be a good thing. I'm saying if I was called in to strategize, I would say I need to start grabbing people, operatives, if you will, and I know I'm getting a little tinfoil hat here, but I'm serious because this is a very doable thing, and have them roll into the LIV Tour events. I need to have hundreds of people that I'm shuffling in that are rolling into these LIV events, and they're openly booing these players. They're shaming them. They're, in effect, bullying them. They're out there, and they're doing things. Nothing illegal,
right?
But they're getting kicked off the course. They're yelling. They're screaming. They're freaking out. They're holding signs. They're bringing signs up. They're running out of – what the PGA needs to do is that in which they are not capable of, because – the PGA Tour is about decorum, is they need to strip the decorum down, and they need to go warfare on these guys, no pun intended. They need to go full frontal assault and say, hey, listen, we're going to screw your tour up now, and we're going to harness the political aspects of this. Now, it's gross because it's ultimately for their own financial gain. They're harnessing real actual
to protect what they have.
It is, and I don't like the idea of them harnessing real pain and real issues to help dial up the rhetoric in society, but that's how they beat them.
So you think the guilt of the current players playing the LIV would be the bigger impact than
the money?
No, not necessarily the money. I don't know how Tiger's group or the PGA keeps them off TV, because right now I still think they're irrelevant.
Oh, I don't think they'll. Yeah, I don't think.
But if that pressure goes to corporations, follow the money. There's tons of money there.
That's right.
But they don't have a television deal. And until they do, I just don't think it's like you've said before, Dave. It's okay. Yeah, we can keep saying that golfer X has joined that tour. That's interesting. But is it? Who's watching on YouTube?
I'm glad you brought it up, because they're going to get a deal in the summer or in the fall. Right. It's going to almost certainly be with Fox TV, which is a huge platform.
Right.
And please don't confuse that with Fox News.
Right.
That's not a political thing. Fox is a major network. That's a major sports network. And to your point, that's again where the PGA needs to operate. Once you get true activists involved in these things, whether you love them or hate them, whether you're the one that watches these people with the signs and say, get a job,
Yeah.
they have a lot of time and passion. You can't deny that. Once you get the activists going full force, they're organized, and they're making a direct connection, not the occasional tweet and think piece. I'm talking about a group of people in every city that there's a stop that's making a direct connection between the Saudis and the golf tour and what they call blood money. That's when you start going after the advertisers.
Right.
Okay, so everybody signed. You got, I'm just throwing them out there, AT&T, Wendy's, brought to you by Rolex, whatever it is, it signs on for the LIV tour on Fox in this world next year. Now you're organizing huge boycotts of these places, and ultimately it's not going to affect their bottom line, but it's a PR strategy. Oh, wow, really? You're putting money in their pockets.
Yeah.
And for me, ultimately, that's where the PGA has the biggest advantage. As rich as that fund is, they're not in this to lose money long term. I do not think they're going to be able to harness these blue chippers long term. I'm talking about the advertisers, and I'm talking about the LIV tour. You're not going to harness these blue chippers long term because they can't hit whatever they're getting out of advertising for this. They're going to lose in the PR war. And that's where the PGA now needs to understand they are a real threat.
Oh, yes.
They are hurting us big time. We have the moral high ground. We need to exploit the moral high ground.
I agree, but I also think in the end, consumers of sports products want what's best. What's the best? So the NFL is still the best, and the XFL, the whatever NFL of football league still can get onto CBS, still can get on summer on these other channels. They still die because it's not the best. But if you start getting more and more of these top golfers, Tiger's still the number one draw.
Yeah.
He doesn't play on the PGA every week. He barely plays. But I don't know. I think even all that shaming.
Yeah.
But if you've got the best golfers, if that's more compelling television, people are going to watch that.
They'll get the best golfers. And when those golfers get bullied and shamed enough and they start losing all their sponsors and they can't go anywhere without being boycotted and chanted. I'm not a fan of bullying. I truly am not. I'm saying from a strategic point of view, they start doing that. And then Jay Monahan in about a year when rhetoric is sky high says, I'm offering amnesty for 30 days. Anyone who leaves that tour and comes here, you have no penalty. It's over. You crush them. You crush them. That is your 12-month plan to crush this tour. But they got to get dirty. We'll take a break. When we come back, 3 for Madness. I got beat up. Playoff baseball is coming, and a living legend has a birthday today. It's a special preview of celebrity birthdays, and 3 for Madness right after this quick message from Jason Ross about ACR.
You ask for more 49ers coverage, and Sactown Sports 1140 listen.
Let's go, Niner gang.
Get all the latest 49ers news and notes online at SactownSports.com. Plus, make sure to follow us on IG at Sactown1140 for Emil Fergoso's live post-game show following every game.
That is what we expect out of the Niner gang. Niners win!
Your home for the most 49ers coverage in Sacramento.
Sactown Sports 1140. The answers. It's 3 for Madness on the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Question 1.
All right, 3 for right now. Jimmy G disappearing.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, all right. New reports coming out, shedding some light on that, whether it's true or not. We'll discuss that. Coming up at 7:45, that's in 30 minutes. Just confirmed Jason Aaron, the Last Dance director, is going to come on. We're just going to have a little bit of fun. Nothing really breaking, but now that The Last Dance is the most watched documentary in the history of Disney, there's some facts got put out there. At 7:43, we're going to bring Jason on to talk about that. And then we've got a tribute to Coach Carrill. Pete Carril passing away yesterday. We'll start that in the 8 o'clock. We will re-rack a conversation Coachy had with Jason and Doug just about a year ago. This is before Coach Adelman and Chris Webber went to the Hall of Fame together. Jerry Reynolds, the coach, will join us at 8:13 to reflect on Coach Carrill as well. So we have a very big second half of the program for you. In the meantime, it's Jay Mars. It's 3 for Madness. Question 1.
Dave, you took some punches from the Hall of Famer Sugar Ray Leonard yesterday in the midsection. Oh, the old bread basket.
Yeah.
Remember back in the late 80s when the question was asked, would you get in the ring and take one punch from Mike Tyson for $5 million?
Yeah.
Well, would you?
Yeah.
What?
Of course I would.
To the face.
Yep.
Sugar Ray hit you yesterday at
Sucked.
66.
Yep.
So prime Tyson
would knock me flat. Would
You're crazy.
Would knock me unconscious.
Okay.
But you know what?
What?
My kids are going to any school they want.
On $5 million?
Yeah, $5 million for sure. I'm assuming, by the way, this is after tax, of course.
You're going to be eating your food for the straw.
I will probably have my jaw broken.
Yeah.
I will probably be eating through a straw for months.
Yeah.
I would tell you this. I'm being dead serious. I would go in and I would have a CAT scan prior, make sure I don't have any crazy brain things going on that could be dislodged. And I'd prefer not to die from it. But I imagine I would not only suffer a massive concussion, I would be knocked flat. I would probably poop my pants and so many other things. But when I woke up, I would know that my family's life would change forever. I mean, I take these questions incredibly seriously. Would I want to get hit by Mike Tyson?
Of course not.
Oh, hell no. Did Sugar Ray Leonard right now when I breathe, are my stomach muscles a little bit sore? Yes. Am I doing the Mike Lamb thing for some reason where I'm asking questions and then answering them myself? Yes. God bless Mike Lamb. Miss you. But yes, I would. And I would hate it and I would be scared every second.
No way for me.
$5 million?
No way. No. No.
Do you know how many Nerf footballs you can buy with $5? Do you know how many Stratomatic little games? Do you know how many baseball
I'd buy
cards?
one.
Yeah, you would. You probably save. You probably put the money in the bank. Buy like something sensible.
I value my health and safety far more.
If medical Jesus came down to you the night before and said, and it's got to be medical.
You can't put that caveat on the question.
His answer's no.
Dude, yes, but if you put enough caveats, you're going to switch his answer to yes. Like if medical Jesus comes down and says you'll be fine.
Medical Jesus comes down and says, listen, everything's on the table.
See,
everything's on your broken jaw, this, that, but you're not going to die.
Right.
And you're not going to have any permanent mental effects.
Okay.
Your jaw will eventually heal, but you're still going to go through everything. He might shatter your jaw in 500 places, and yes, you might eat through a straw like the guy in Shawshank for a year, but you're not going to die, and it's not going to cause you to have some degenerative disorder. Would that change your opinion at all?
I'd say, you know what, medical Jesus? Take care of my friend Dave. He's going to need help.
Medical Jesus. Fridays on ABC. Question 2.
Question 2.
Following Webster.
Oh, Webster.
Really? Delay of game. After a
Just
very special Blossom.
And the reboot.
Blossom.
Oh, wow.
Got the Lawrence brothers are in that Google commercial now.
We're also switching networks here. That'd be
No
ABC.
kidding.
Whoa. What about a reboot of Mr. Belvedere? Anyone on board for that?
Sure.
Still with Bob Uecker.
Why not?
Why not?
I can think of a few reasons.
Okay, question 2.
Playoff baseball is the best baseball. This just in. And this year, with more playoff teams, the World Series will go into November. Is this good?
By the way, one of my favorite stories ever I'd heard was that Mr. Belvedere had to be paused for 2 weeks because Mr. Belvedere in a table read sat on his junk.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard that.
Had to be carried out to the
Poor
hospital.
Mr. Belvedere.
Missed 2 weeks of filming because he sat on his junk.
Those aren't teacups.
All right, P. Christopher Hewitt. Playoff.
Wait, Mr. Belvedere's dead?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, he passed away a few years back.
Oh, what'd he die of?
I'm assuming old age, but couldn't be. Don't know. Don't have that knowledge at the top of my head.
Well, next time I ask, you should have it.
My bad. Is
playoff base? The World Series going to the November is good.
Yes, provided we're not watching the snow game.
That's it.
And we talked about this in the pre-show.
Or is the snow game make it more interesting?
I'm not a fan of
snow game. Doesn't happen.
I'm not a fan of weather affecting championships. I don't like it. I don't like I don't like a team playing all year and then it's snowing and now it's almost like just random stuff. I want it in a dome or in nice weather because I want it to be neutral. And speaking of that was our conversation we had before the show. Could we someday, especially with the World Series going later, work to a point where the World Series operates much like the Super Bowl, where you have the National League and American League home teams, and then once you hit the World Series, hey, this year's World Series, welcome to New Orleans, Louisiana, the Superdome or whatever.
And you play the whole series there?
The whole series in there. You play the whole series in a neutral site. The whole series in a neutral, the whole World Series in a neutral site. I forget which one of you said it. I love the idea of the World Series being played at the Field of Dreams. Probably going to get like 9,000 people in there, but maybe after Frank Thomas is done with the renovations, you might get more. But also, by the way, Iowa really cold.
Yeah, put a dome.
Yeah, well, and in a
put a dome at the Field of Dreams.
Yes,
yeah, there you go.
If you build it, a dome,
they will build a dome. They will definitely come. I promise.
Want to have a catch.
I think the dome might slightly de-romanticize the Dome of Dreams.
Only slightly.
Well, you make Field of Dreams 2 first.
Yeah, Electric Boogaloo.
Yes.
Right.
The dome years. And then you've got your situation.
You have holograms in the back of cornfields.
Yes.
That's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's still going to be playoff baseball. I think it's just going to be, what was the year there was so much fear that the Super Bowl was going to be in the snow in New York, and then it ended up being okay.
Yeah.
So
it was fine, but that was lucky. A little bit of luck there.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Question 3.
Gotta wish a very happy birthday to the one and only Madonna.
Happy birthday, Madonna.
In your opinion, what is Madonna's best song?
That's a tough question, dude.
She got a lot of hits.
She has a ton of hits. My favorite song by Madonna is not a hit of hers. It was a minor hit. It's a song called "Oh Father." It's a ballad. It's about the relationship and abusive relationship she had with her dad. There is a video. It's pretty. That song got me really, really, really big time. Also, shout out to "Live to Tell" from the Sean Penn movie. Also, I would put that number 2. But those are my 2 favorites.
I wrote "Live to Tell" down. I like "Crazy for You."
"Crazy for You" is a great song.
"Cherish" is a fun little ditty.
Love we have.
No, Cool and the Gang.
Oh, dang it. Okay.
Come on.
Gotcha.
And then also kind of a random one from a movie. What was the movie? It was
Who's that girl?
No. With Honors?
Dick Tracy?
With Honors, I think
it was.
Where is it? I'll Remember.
I'll Remember.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, I think Dick Tracy, that's my 3rd favorite Madonna song, is the one she did with the guy, the clown.
Vogue.
No, not Vogue.
Borderline.
Lucky Star.
La
Like a
Isla
Virgin.
Bonita.
Was it?
Used to be my
The
playground.
show is over. Say goodbye.
Oh, that's Papa Don't Preach.
Say goodbye.
It's definitely Papa Don't Preach.
Oh, God, I don't do it.
Dress you up.
Jimmy G. He's gone. No, he's not. And now he's back.
Material Girl.
No, Material Girl is a great song, though. The Vanishing Jimmy G. Why is this report matter? Doesn't matter at all. We'll get to that in some Niner Notes next.
Breaking news, the latest happenings with your favorite teams.
Do you ever wonder about what the heck all these kids are doing on computers all the time?
Stay up to date with all of it by following us on Instagram and Twitter
Excuse me, gentlemen, a little update for you.
at Sactown 1140.
visiting SactownSports.com and sign up today. You can win tickets to see Roger Moore in the movie Spy Who Loved Me this week at the Esquire IMAX Theater.
You know, they've been here for a combined 50 years. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross
on Sactown Sports 1140.
There it is. Madonna with a little help from Babyface. Maybe I can't think of another Madonna duet.
Justin Timberlake. What was that song they did like?
Oh, did they?
Years?
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds familiar. Not a big duetter Madonna is on KHTK.
Nice.
I appreciate that. It's a great song. And I have
Bedtime Stories album.
I have heard this. This is very, you were joking around during the break that they used to be my playground, League of Their Own song. Was this? But they are.
I wasn't joking around about that.
You played it. I said it. It sounded like the same beat.
I apologize. Jason, to your point.
I knew exactly what this song when you played
You
it
did.
for me.
I apologize. You're right. I mixed it up.
I don't know if you knew this about me.
I used to be a music
director.
You know that? This is kind of a second cousin to that song.
It
though,
is.
And
Same
how
Z.
it sounds. Listen to the
I think it's the
falsetto.
first cousin.
Babyface. One lonely star you don't know. Let's just, hey, Cage to karaoke right now. Blow off the rest of the show. Okay. Jimmy Garoppolo, much like the song Fading Out, is fading out in the eyes and hearts and minds of 49er fans. But a report, gentlemen, that he would disappear for weeks and be unreachable during several off seasons in San Francisco. That's weird on a number of, it's weird on a number of levels. But the first thing it made me honestly think about is I kind of stopped. And I know that, remember when Jimmy was photographed a couple years ago? He was on a date with some adult film star.
Sure.
And I started thinking, he plays in a major market. He's fairly successful. He's been to 2 or 3 NFC championship games in the last 3 years and a Super Bowl. He's devastatingly handsome. Why is Jimmy Garoppolo not more of a crossover star? If for no other reason, he plays the most glamorous position in American sports, and he's a good-looking cat.
It starts with the Subway commercials. Now it's going to just take off from here.
I would think so. Why is he not making appearance? Why are we not seeing Jimmy G modeling lines? Why does he not have a signature set of you see Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Stafford in the AT&T commercials? And granted, that's LA. Jimmy has arguably, I'm not saying he's in the same echelon as far as quarterback goes, but Jimmy's had about the same success over the last 3 years as Patrick Mahomes has, minus the ring, of course. And I know that's a big of course, but I'm talking about success-wise as far as how far they go in the Super Bowl or in the playoffs, et cetera, et cetera. They're in the same world. Do you even know of a Jimmy endorsement?
Just the Subway.
Other than the Subway?
Yeah, that's the only one that I know of as of now.
Which begs the question. I know this isn't where we're going to go, but it is worth asking, especially when you tie in football stuff. Does Jimmy Garoppolo's agent suck? Like, does he have a crap agent?
It's very possible. It's very possible. But I also think now, obviously we're a waiting game to see where he's going to end up going. But, that other part of that story is interesting in a sense that I know some people said, well, that's no big deal if he kind of disappeared. He was doing his work. He always came to camp prepared.
Yeah.
But I think it was because the Niners allegedly were trying to reach him.
Yes.
That's the weird part. Like if, guys go away, hey, be back here for camp on X day, and he showed up, then what's the big deal? But if they were trying to get in touch with him.
Sure.
And who's leaking this story?
Not the Niners.
Right.
It does nothing. But I don't think anybody's going to go, I was going to trade for him, but now he's unreachable. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger. But if it's a tie goes to, tie goes with the runner at first base type of thing, maybe that's a deal.
Yeah.
By the way, I'd like to publicly apologize for the comment I made about his agent, because his agent is Sacramento's Don Yee, also represents Tom Brady and many others, and he's from Sacramento. So I didn't say his agent sucked, to be clear. I said, does his agent suck? And like any good radio host, I'm paying it off with the answer, which is no.
No. You asked the question, you answered it.
I asked the question, I answered it. That's it. Don Yee does not suck. No, Don Yee, even if he wasn't from Sacramento, doesn't suck. But I don't know. This is just silly season stupid stuff.
Yeah, and
which we don't know if it's true, by the way.
Right, and at this point, let's pretend it was. It worked. Like they won. Like I don't think it kept them from any kind of other success, right?
No.
So even if I think the report was when he signed that extension, the big one, the big deal back in 2018, signed that 5-year deal, $137 million. Like he just was gone. Like after the season, after that deal, then they didn't see him for weeks after trying to get in touch with him. Okay.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers is like in a fire pit drinking whatever psychedelics and by the way, fine.
But that would be weird if you just signed this massive deal to basically be the face of the franchise, and then for weeks upon weeks you can't be reached. It's like he's just disappeared.
I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised it doesn't happen more. Where like, okay, I got paid, I signed the deal, don't care.
See at camp.
Here's a clip for here's a part of that article. When the news conference ended, Garoppolo shook hands, flashed his multi-million, apparently not multi-$1,000 smile is what it should read, and disappeared into the off-season ether. That important work, to his coach's chagrin, would have to wait. Quote, once he left that press conference, nobody heard from Jimmy for weeks and weeks, recalled one member of the coaching staff. He didn't return calls. He didn't return texts. He basically just vanished. And we were looking at each other going, what just happened? The Jimmy G Vanishing Act. It's funny because everything's capitalized, so it looks like his name is Jimmy G Vanishing. The Jimmy G Vanishing Act, which would become a staple of subsequent off seasons, last year being a glaring exception, is worth pondering as we prepare to dive into the Trey Lance era, beginning with Friday's. Well, that was last week's game against the Packers. It is a weird leak, dude. It's a weird leak. And you know what's funny? I'm going to give myself some homework right now. You never want to doubt reporting and all that. I mean, that's these people's livelihoods. But I got a friend of a friend that I know has spent a lot of time in that coach's room with Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay. Not a friend, but a friend of a friend. I'm pretty confident I could get friend to text friend of a friend and say, is this legit? And if it is, he's no longer with the team. No reason to lie about it. And obviously, I won't name the person, but we'll see. I am very curious to see what other reports would say about that.
Yeah, in the end, I don't know that it would. I don't think this is a circumstance that's going to hurt the Niners ever for trading him. We know they want to trade him. It's just where? What's the available spot? And it still feels like the Niners are now in a position where they're not going to root for this, but they almost need an injury for another team to be in a spot where they go, okay, or the Deshaun Watson scenario or something else to open up a door, because Jimmy G has not been seemingly coveted by other people, or the Niners aren't willing to give him for less than they think he's worth.
Well, spoiler alert, a quarterback is going to suffer a season-ending injury in the first week, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
Or a
weeks of injury.
Weeks of injury. I mean, it happens all the time. We're seeing people drop like flies. Jimmy Ward's dealing with a hamstring injury now that's going to threaten his week 1 appearance for the Niners. And that's a guy who you seemingly lose all the time, but can't afford to lose. We've talked about outlawing the preseason. There's too many injuries. That ain't happening anytime soon. There's way too much money involved. Switching gears real quick. The NBA has just announced it's a really big scheduling announcement that involves playing absolutely 0 games. And this is actually, I think, awesome of them. They announced that as part of the NBA schedule, there will be 0 NBA games played Tuesday, November 8th. And I expect that's going to be a thing going forward. It's exactly what should happen. That's election day. And listen, not to, this is a sports show. The NBA, though, and many other leagues, they intertwine themselves. All the holidays we have, man. We can't have election day be a holiday. Are you kidding me?
Right.
How hard is that? Right. Just me. How is that?
Well, there's a lot of election days. That's the thing. And now we're valuing
once a year, the Tuesday in November.
Yeah.
That one.
Right.
Holiday.
Yeah.
And by the way, even if you just, I think it should be every year, even if you just rotated it every 4 for the big one.
Right.
That's not part. Who's going to disagree with that?
Right.
Who, on what side I don't care what.
Everybody's always for more days off.
Yes. I was going to say, I don't want the day off.
And I still say the strangest game one of the strangest games ever was the 2016 election. It was at Golden One. There was a game, I don't even know who the Kings were playing, but you could just see and feel like, are people paying attention?
Right.
And it was a night where things were going weird and everybody was looking at their phone. I was looking down from I go, what's happening? And then we're getting word like, oh, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on. And people were, it just was a weird, weird night. And everybody was either looking at the TVs in the suite or at their phones and not even paying attention.
I know that we had a similar situation for when the Giants won the World Series or whatever a couple weeks ago.
But that was an excitement, like anticipation. This was just like what's happening, and maybe exciting for some. I'm not saying that. It's just it was a night of a lot of people being quiet.
I'm guessing that there was no announcement over.
Well, no, because nothing was ever official.
Nothing was nothing was resolved. Well, you know what? That honestly, to watch a game and also pay attention to that, it takes a lot of energy. It truly does. Maybe they found it at American Energy. I don't know, because we weren't partners back then, but I'll just bet they did. I'll bet they did because American Energy has been around since 1981. They're local. Sacramento born and bred. And right now, they want to put some cash in your pocket. How about $2,500 cold hard cash is the rebate offer? Because if you're looking and you're getting high quotes about replacing your HVAC system, you feel like it's time to replace that system overall and you haven't gotten any quotes yet, whatevs. Contact American Energy, your second opinion partner. They're currently offering a $2,500 rebate with 0%, 0 down financing options. It's the best deal out there for new HVAC equipment. Are you kidding? But it's August 16th. This deal only until August 31st. Call today to schedule your appointment at 916-520-9990. That's 916-520-9990. AmericanEnergyAir.com. That's AmericanEnergyAir.com. You tell them your good buddy Carmichael Dave sent you. Jason Air, the director of The Last Dance, also down in the valley. He's going to join us next. It's the most watched documentary in Disney history, all kinds of fun facts. I want to find out which ones are true and which ones might be a little exaggerated. We'll have that fun conversation in just 2 minutes.
You want more Kings coverage?
Sactown Sports 1140 is giving it to you.
I like the Monk deal a lot. The Kevin Herter one, you got control of a guy who, around the league, people still think he's a pretty good player.
Impressions, let's start with the Kings' top pick, Keegan Murray. What do you think of him? And you obviously knew him well at Iowa.
Yeah, I thought he was terrific. I called efficient and versatile. He's going to make shots. He's an elite jump shooter.
Log on to SactownSports.com for exclusive content.
SactownSports.com.
kitchen gadgets and baseball cards.
I think that's really crazy interesting.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
15 minutes from now, our retrospective on the late, great Coach Pete Carril will begin, starting with Doug Christie, Jason Ross talking about a year ago. Chance to hear the great coach speak. And then Coach Jerry Reynolds will join us after that to help with some of those anecdotes. Right now, good friend of mine, good friend of the show, the wonderfully married family man, also director of The Last Dance, and as we all know, director of the Down Valley, the Kings doc for ESPN. He joins us right now, nice enough to come on just from me texting him, because today there's a cool thread I saw on Twitter. It's from a guy named Nathan Baugh. Talking about how The Last Dance is now the most watched documentary in Disney history, averaged 5.6 million viewers per episode, generated tens of millions in revenue. I hope most of that went to Jason. But Michael Jordan made $4 million. They say only. I know that's a lot for us, but only $4 million. And they broke down some of the stuff. I wanted to run some of these things by Jason to see what was right, what if there was anything wrong, and some of these are just opinion things as well. And any chance I get to check in with Jason is always fun. Jason, it's Dave. It's Jason Ross. Good morning, pal, from the East Coast. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Great.
You know that we were talking earlier. I spent the day with Sugar Ray Leonard yesterday. He said, you know what? Every once in a while, especially when you haven't talked to one of your buddies in a long time, just simply ask them, are you happy? Just ask them that question. So I will start my day doing that. Jason, are you happy?
Very happy. Doing some research on a couple of upcoming projects and sitting here with my napping dog, looking out over the Hudson River. It's a beautiful day in New York. So yes, 10 out of 10. How about you?
I'm good, Jason.
Yeah, I'm 10 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, I think we're all good. It's good to be alive. Jay Mars, you happy?
Happy belated birthday, by the way, Dave.
Thank you, pal. I appreciate that. Not fun getting older, but hey, also it's fun getting older. You know what I'm saying? It's good to be here. Jason, some of these facts I just saw and I went, you know what? I'd like to BS with Jason about these because I don't know what your take would be on these, which is why we're talking. This is a Twitter thread on a lot of this stuff and your great work and your team on The Last Dance. It says LeBron James starts out. LeBron came back from a down 3-1 to win the NBA Finals, staking his claim as the best basketball player of all time, according to some. But during the championship parade, Michael Jordan agreed to release the footage to The Last Dance, obviously making a connection there that maybe MJ wanted to remind a newer generation, Michael Jordan did, of his excellence. Do you is that something that sounds familiar? Do you buy that at all?
I don't buy it. The timing I buy, but this project was in development way before the playoffs even started that season. So I think that the timing may have been such that Mike Tolan, who runs the production company that ran the show, had a meeting with Michael the same day as LeBron's parade. But that meeting was set. I mean, they were meeting about this show in February at the All-Star break of that year. I forget what the All-Star game was that year. New Orleans, maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
Wherever it was. They were meeting about it then. So this was way before the playoff season started that season. So, no, I've heard that before. It's very convenient, but I really doubt it.
Another thing they say is production was rushed back, moved up from June to April. If my memory serves me correctly, that is correct, because I remember the only thing tougher than putting together, a 10-hour documentary, the most important documentary in sports history, which is going to be shown on ABC in an unprecedented partnership between Netflix and Disney, who are now direct competitors. The only thing that would put more pressure on your lap would be, I don't know, moving it up months. And I do remember something like that did happen.
That is true.
Okay.
But it was actually a blessing for those of us who had been in the trenches. We had a finish line.
Right. That took some of the pressure off. Oh, Jason, did I lose you?
I'm hearing somebody else.
Oh, that's the room in the people in the other room are waving at me, and by proxy, you saying we apologize. They had a feed come in there. My question was, sorry for that, Jason.
No, I heard the question. Yeah. I was saying that is true. We were supposed to air the night after Game 1 of the finals in 2020, and it was going to be like every other night when they weren't playing the finals. They were going to show 2 more episodes of The Last Dance.
Gotcha.
So it is true that they moved it up by 2 months, but it actually was a blessing because we had been, this thing was supposed to air in 2019. It was supposed to air in 2018 to commemorate the 20th anniversary of the 98 finals. And then it got pushed back to 2019. And then we had so many cooks in the kitchen that the notes process just went on for months and months and months. And finally we had a finish line, and we couldn't note these things to death, and we couldn't argue these things to death, and people couldn't weigh in. Put it this way. It took us 18 months to get episode 1 across the finish line. And it took us 8 days to get episode 10 across the finish line.
Yeah, and I remember that, Jason, when we had you on each week, you were talking about how you were still maybe editing episode 7 while we're talking about episode 2 or 3. If you think, I know there was a joy in a sense where you had the finish line. If you didn't have the finish line, how different do you think the product would be?
I don't think the quality would have suffered, but my hair would have been a few shades towards gray or white, just because the most arduous part of the process, what we were getting 20 to 30 pages of single lined notes for every episode from ESPN, the NBA, Netflix, and the Jordan brand.
Wow.
And oftentimes they were on page 7, it would say more Rodman, and on page 18 it would say less Rodman.
That had to be fun.
Oh my God, man. It was mind-boggling. My heart rate just went up by about 15 beats just talking about this. So it was ironically a blessing to say, all right, you know what? We're all stuck inside anyway.
Yep.
The world is burning in front of our eyes. So let's just, it was a great thing to have to focus on. It was a terrible time, especially in New York. I mean, it's a terrible time everywhere. But New York was like, you just heard sirens in the distance all the time. It was apocalyptic. So for me to wake up, I mean, literally there was not a moment in that final 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it was where I wasn't thinking about the show. It was all day, every single day, but it was a blessing because we finally, like I said, had a finish line.
Jason Ayer, the director of The Last Dance and Down in the Valley, and many others joining us right now. The writer of this Twitter thread conveniently leaves out, I don't think he did it on purpose, but I'll fill it in, talking about the reasons why this was such a successful documentary. I'll start with brilliant filmmaking, writing, and basically herding cats into one space and doing the impossible. That being said, let's put that aside. That's number 1, 2, 3, and 4. But he also added in some things as well that help with the success. And 3 of them were memes, the Disney Netflix partnership, the best practices being shared, and then the debate. But the memes, to me, it caught my eye. The security guard shrugging his shoulders, Michael holding the iPad and throwing his head back and laughing, and then Michael looking at the iPad with this perplexed look. Like those 3 images and many others were everywhere. It's an opinion thing, Jason, obviously, but do you think social media and the virality, if that's even a word, of all that stuff aided in viewership?
Absolutely. And because everybody was watching it at the same time. So social media was experiencing it at the same time, and people were gathered in their homes watching at the same time. And people like to post on social media about stuff that they're watching in their home. So, it was this, I don't like to call it a perfect storm because it was a terrible time in the world.
Yeah.
But the conflagration of events that led to everyone being stuck inside and watching that thing. And I mean, we certainly would have experienced as a culture that show differently if social media did not exist.
Sure.
Because it's the water cooler now, and there was no water cooler because no one was going into work to get a water at the cooler. So, yes, I do think, and we did not anticipate that at all. It never even factored into my mind. I remember one time my producer and one of my best friends, Jake, saying, can you imagine if this thing was popular enough that like SNL mentioned it or something like that? That was the ultimate goal, was like right. If SNL ever acknowledged this, because that's like,
right.
That's the gold standard of like pop culture transcendence. So but we never thought about which one of these things is going to go viral. I mean, John Michael Wozniak, that security guard you talked about, I didn't give it a second thought that he would be like this a face on a T-shirt.
Well, I can wrap it up this way, and this wraps up that thread too, and this is what really made me think about calling you. He wraps the whole thing up, and he says, here's an all-timer. And there's a lot of screenshots and clips in this thing. I'll send it to you if you haven't seen it. He says, here's an all-timer from The Last Dance, and it's a screenshot. It's a screenshot of President Barack Obama sitting down, and it labels him Barack Obama, former Chicago resident. Dude, when you drive around in a vehicle, do you have to put your stuff in the passenger seat? And by stuff, you know what I mean? Because that took cojones, dude. That was brilliant. Brilliant.
But that was partly done as a message to the note-giving parties that I talked about before. They were insistent that we interview presidents and celebrities. You saw Timberlake in there. You saw Nas in there. I mean, there were some battles that I had to lose to win the war. So if Bill Clinton or Barack Obama comes on and says the Bulls were great in the 90s, like, who cares? Why? What gives them I'd rather have Bob Ryan explaining to me why the Bulls were a great team. But it was a way of explaining, like, hey, this is why he's in this thing. It wasn't, I had people like looking into my social media and saying that I was like a Trumper and all this kind of stuff. Like, I mean, no, it had nothing to do with that at all. This was, here's a signal to why he is important to this story and why he has the right to reflect on this story in this context. We did the same thing with Clinton and said former Arkansas governor, because he had seen Scottie Pippen play. Like, that was something that it wasn't even on my list of questions, and it came up conversationally during the interview. And that's the only thing we ended up using from the interview is he said he saw Scottie play in college.
So many things out of this documentary. We could just spend the whole hour on it. The iPad reactions that now every other documentary uses, and so much more. And Jason, you've always been good to us. I know how insanely busy you are, so thanks for carving out a few minutes. And we owe you a longer conversation, my friend. I know, and can't say, but know that you have some pretty insane things in the hopper, and you got to promise us to come on when it's time to let everybody know what's coming up and where to watch it.
Absolutely. Never too busy for my buddies in Sacramento.
Say hi to give the puppy a scratch, say hello to the new bride, and I hope you are well. Have a good day, my man.
All right, fellas. You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. That's Jason Air. We will take a break. When we come back, all right, we get a little serious, but a little, a lot of smiles as we remember Coachy.
We actually get to hear him.
Yes, we do. Pete Carril passing away yesterday, 92 years old, I believe, correct? Lived a full and long life. Doug Christie, Jason Ross had an opportunity to visit with him about a year ago. You're going to hear that next.
Sactown Sports 1140 is broadcasting live on YouTube.
To me, it's a must-watch.
Check out the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and the Cattles and Rami Show.
Plus, get exclusive content.
Search Sactown Sports 1140 on YouTube. Sactown Sports 1140, the flagship station of your Sacramento Kings. It's the Carmichael Dave Show.
He's on the microphone when he's not on the microphone. He's playing a song, and when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone, and then boom.
With Jason Ross.
Jay, hey, my headset's
Text or call the show at 916-339-1140.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross
on Sactown Sports 1140.
Coachy, the man, the myth, the legend. That's right. Pete Carril joining us here on Cage to Cage. Jason Ross, Doug Christie. Coachy, how are you?
I'm doing okay.
Yeah? Where you at, buddy?
Is this Doug Christie talking?
This is Doug Christie talking now. What's up, baby?
Well, I'm doing all right. I was thinking about you the other day.
Uh-oh.
No, it was good.
Oh, well, that do tell. Then. Yeah, let's hear.
Yeah, it was good. You know, the Sacramento Kings, when I was there, we with Jeff Petrie's leadership, we turned that whole program around, and of course, the head coach Edelman turned that whole thing around so that we lost it to the Lakers at just a bad time. We deserved to win that game.
Absolutely.
And, it was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, I was sick for a while there.
You know, actually, as you say that, Coachy, I'm still sick. I talked to C. Webb. C. Webb is sick, and I talked to Coach Adelman, and he deals with it a little different. The first time you met Coach Adelman, do you remember? And had you known Coach before you got the job?
Well, I know one thing. I was on guard for my life because he had played for Coach Van Bertekop. And I guess Van Bertekop must have run him into the ground. And so he kind of disliked me a little bit. But then after a while, he realized that I wasn't his enemy. I was one of his loyal guys, and I tried to help him out, and it turned out all right. And then I showed him how to do and twos and combine it with a fast break, so that when you're down there, you pop into something that you recognize about your offense that'll work. And he liked that. He didn't run. He didn't run for the sake of running. He ran with a purpose.
Absolutely.
So we're talking with Pete Carril here. So, Coachy, Doug tells stories of how Rick Adelman would kind of give the assistants some autonomy to maybe stop practice, and you maybe specifically to see something and point out something to Doug or Vlade or Peja, whoever it might be. How comfortable were you to be, one, being loyal, but then also still trying to utilize your knowledge to help benefit the team?
At first, there was one guy that reminded me that I was the lowest paid guy in the staff. I'm bringing it up. I won't mention his name. And he's the same guy that I was working Ito Turkoglu out, and apparently Ito was enjoying it too much, so they took the individual coaching away from me and gave it to this guy that I thought was a fraud. And what happened was that I come back up from whatever I was doing. There they are in the practice room, kicking this basketball around like I'm playing soccer. Right then I went over to Jeff and said that's it for me. But they talked me out of it. But it was a little rough at first, but then I think Edelman realized that I was on his side, and when we lost to LA, I felt just as bad as he did.
Coach,
I was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Right?
Coachy, so you got Adelman going into the Hall of Fame. You also got Webb going into the Hall of Fame. And I was listening to Webb on a podcast, and he was talking about the fact that you had convinced him to play at the elbow, and he would take some heat for it. What did you see in Webb that you thought that the elbow – I think I know the answer, but more for our listeners, that you saw that, like, at the elbow, this is going to be a great place for you, Webb, and you're going to have a lot of success?
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing about it is he was a hard guy to coach, to say the least. And I remember I was working with him on his foul shot, and he didn't like to be coached, that guy. So I walked up to me. He's on the foul line. And I said, Chris, I want to work on your foul shot. He gave me that look, And when you're a little guy from the 5'7" from the Ivy League, there's hardly anybody there that thinks that you know anything. All right. So we went to work on it. So he made 58 out of 60 foul shots. Then I said, now I'm gonna sit down, and the only guy that proved this story, Scotty Sterling, is dead. He was our chief scout.
Yep.
But he used to be the general manager of the New York Knicks. And so Webb come over after he made 59 out of 60 without my talking to him. And he kissed me on the head and said, thanks a lot, Coachy. And then he walked away. And I said to Scotty, if he really meant that, I'd be the happiest guy in the world. So the next thing you know, in comes a guy the next day that's a shooting instructor, and he's paying him to shoot. Unreal. But he was I think the guy's what I can detect about him now. He's not a bitter guy anymore, and he's right with the world. And I'm glad to see that he's going to be in Hall of Fame, and I'm glad for Rick too, because he had a remarkable career there. And of course, Sacramento hasn't done much since they left, so that makes it even better. But
Coachy, how about for your storied career? Where does Sacramento rank amongst all, just your time here, amongst all the great things that you did in your basketball career?
So a lot of things that I remember about Sacramento. I like the doctor that saved my life when I had a heart attack after we lost to the Lakers. And I was laying on the bed, and Dr. Tangi was our doctor, I think. And he said, does he have any relatives around here? Because you're notified by next of kin. So I went to a doctor there that operated on me, Dr. Longoria, who is now associate professor of medicine at Stanford, and next year he's going to be a head professor. Saved my life.
Wow.
So I like that part of it. The town, I like the way that our fans like the team, and when they worked hard, they were rewarded. And during that time, it was hard. We're working with Vlade one day on his shot, making one shot after another. So that night, the next night we played, he makes damn near every shot. So after practice, I said, come on over, we'll do the same thing again. He said, wait, Coachy, I want you to know, I love to play, but I hate to practice. So I had a lot of moments like that just go run out over your back, but it's a good thing I had a decent career at Princeton, and so I could take things like that without killing myself. But it was Doug, I mean, you were a defensive specialist. You made the all defensive team.
Yes, sir.
And we played somebody, I forget who it was, that scored 40 points the game before. I said, this is what you got to do to guard that guy. You can't guard everybody on the team. You just got to stick to guard that guy, because Doug had a way of helping out so much that he disregarded certain rules on defense. But he shocked that guy. He held him to 14 points, and we won. And I said to him, you stopped that guy. We won that game because of what you did. So in practice, he went back to his old self. I had a lot of fun there. We had a good bunch of guys. And when you come from an Ivy League and you're only 5'7",
yeah,
that's the idea that you might become one of these little guys that like to make orders and order guys around, which I never did that. I knew the game, and I was a good player. And these guys are on the Hall of Fame. I made the Hall of Fame when I was out there. Right now, my traveling I'm 91 years old, and so I'm having a hard time traveling, so I might not make it. But if I can make it, I'll go to see that.
Yep, absolutely.
Great to see that.
Yeah, it would be.
We love you and appreciate
Thank
you,
you,
Coachy.
Coachy.
Thank you so much.
That's the legendary Pete Carril.
Yes.
Thanks to Doug Christie, who is not here, and you for doing that. That
was right before Adelman and Webb were going in the Hall of Fame last year.
Yeah, it's cool to hear his voice.
Yeah.
It's just like wet with insane knowledge. Anything he says is just an anecdote on an anecdote.
Yeah, and just like to his reference, I'm a 5'7" guy from the East Coast. Like, who's gonna? And at the time, older now. He's obviously passed at 92, but he was early 70s, mid 70s when he was here.
Yeah,
but they did listen. It worked.
He saw a lot of basketball.
Yes,
and I wish we would have found out what was on in the background.
Yeah, I know. There was a loud TV in the background.
There was a TV show on in the background. I'll bet you it was basketball.
It probably was.
We could spend the whole week talking about Coachy. And again, if you're just joining us, Coach Pete Carril passed away yesterday at 92 years old. Princeton legend, Kings legend, all over. And we're going to have Jerry Reynolds on because it was nice to be able to hear from Coachy from the past. Jerry's going to join us next, which is always a blast to talk to Jerry about anything, but he's going to reflect on Coachy as well. We'll get to that in just 1 minute.
Check out the Golf to Go Hour with Frank LaRosa every week on Sactown. Text or call the show at 916-339-1140 on Sactown Sports 1140.
On Sactown Sports 1140. Hey. Well, I'm thanking you. Thanks to Doug. I'll thank Doug since you're here for being there and letting us hear Coachy talk. Jerry Reynolds is always a fun combo.
Yeah.
And we'll be hearing more and more and more from Jerry with Jerry as the season comes up.
Yeah. What's cool with Doug, too, he obviously, when you get to that far, you've had so many coaches.
Yeah.
Doug really speaks in reverence of Coachy. Like that was one that just connected with him differently. And Doug just liked his approach. And, I know it's different with teachers or parents, someone of leadership or mentorship that it just connected with me. And for Doug, it was Coachy.
I think if we ask Doug, you always have pieces of your mentors in you.
Yeah.
I'll bet you a lot of his coaching comes from Coach.
I know it is because he'll reference one thing. He's like, the Kings had some style and some flair to those teams, right? And then behind the back passes. And Coachy would say, no, that's the right, if it's the right pass, throw it behind the back.
Sure.
Not to show off, but okay, you're hedging here and I'm dribbling with my right hand. You're going to steal it. Well, I'm going to flip it behind. If you have the skill, do it. And you're hearing this from at that time, Princeton, 72-year-old man. And Doug's like, yeah, that is the right pass.
Because
let's go.
You would think the reaction 100 out of 100 times from 80-something-year-old, 70-something-year-old Princeton guy would be, no.
Stop, reverse pivot, chest pass.
Stop with the flash.
Right.
We don't need any of that.
No.
Make the pass.
Right.
Every time you make a behind-the-back pass, that's going to be 70 laps.
Right.
No.
If you can do it, do it.
Right. The fact, and that's where I think Coachy was so revered amongst the 100 other reasons, is that he had the knowledge, he had the old school, but he was able to evolve into the game, recognize that not only, by the way, might it be the right pass, but let's just be honest, there's no way to measure what it does, but let's be honest. Dunking a basketball is worth 2 points.
Right.
A behind-the-back assist is worth 2 points or 3. It's not like you get an extra point for a flashy play, but flashy plays have a way. There's a reason why they say the NBA is a game of runs. There's a reason why almost every game, both teams will have a 10-0, 11-2, 15-1. There will be runs throughout the game, and part of that is when you make a play like that, it's almost like a video game. Everybody's energy goes up to 99 for a second. It's like in Super Mario when you eat the mushroom and the music would start. There are ways, especially when you're at home, there are times, we see it all the time, Jason, when somebody breaks somebody's ankles, everyone goes, oh, yeah. And then they make the shot. Okay, well, it's just 2 points, but what it can mean emotionally to the team to snap them back in, and I think, Coach, you recognize that.
Yeah, and I think he fit with the style somehow of that group. That group was, Doug has said it, others that have been on the show have said it, just a odd collection of super talented players.
Right.
But the fact that they all came together to work together, to support each other, to love one another, and to chase a championship was pretty a weird group that you could see why it wouldn't work.
Yeah,
but it worked.
And I wonder with Jeff Petrie. We always talked about Vlade, and when Vlade was a GM, and we all know how that road went for the most part. But one of the things Vlade tried to do was the chemistry aspect.
Yes, it's important to him.
It's very important to him, and I think a lot of that was his own experience with this team, and the fact that you had everyone from Vernon Maxwell to Ron Artest, these malcontent guys with the head issues that are going to tear up your life. They were fantastic here. And I've always wondered with Jeff Petrie, it's tough to tell because Jeff Petrie doesn't talk that much, and he's a very, very quiet man, a very reserved man, but that's not a coincidence that he somehow, and I'm sure there was some guessing games, but somehow he was able to put together one of the best chemistry, not a word, teams in NBA history. Really,
Yeah.
Those guys loved each other.
Yeah, and the fact that they kept hitting on what would be called now, I guess, journeyman after journeyman.
Yeah,
I mean,
Pollard,
Sean
Barry,
Barry,
right.
Bobby Jackson was kind of going that. Doug had been around a bunch of
Jim
different
Jackson.
teams. And then you get them, and their best basketball was
Right here.
I mean, it was Vlade's, third team?
Yeah.
Webb's third team.
Chris Webber was
a young star that was like, it's never going to reach his potential.
I'll tell you what Chris Webber was at the time. I mean, listen, this is far from exact, and there's different circumstances, but you sure as heck can make a lot of comparisons to Chris Webber at that point in his career with Ben Simmons right now. Yeah. It was very similar in the sense that you had these all-world talents.
Number one picks.
Imagine if Twitter was around back then when Webber got caught with the weed, allegedly, in Puerto Rico and the whole thing, and him and Juwan Howard and all those allegations.
Immature. He'll never get it. What a waste. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you win Rookie of the Year and get shipped out the same year? How bad of a guy do you have to be? I mean, he had that rep.
Sacramento, what is he doing? Their third team already. That's a risk for him.
Oh,
and
my
for
God.
the team, and he doesn't want to be there. And
oh my God! Imagine Twitter when that trade happened.
Yeah.
Imagine Shams Charania reporting that he was crying on the plane.
Right. Trading Mitch Richmond, the best thing this city had ever seen.
And get trashed.
Yeah.
Jeff Petrie would get destroyed.
Yeah.
This is actually a really interesting thought project.
Yeah.
What social media would have been like, what NBA Twitter would have been like when Chris Webber got traded.
NBA and then even local, right?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we can go, we had the version of Twitter the night they drafted Peja.
Yes.
And not
John Wallace.
Right. So the audible Twitter is the booing at the end. It's like, no, you screwed up. I don't know who this pre-drag, whatever his name is.
Stojakovic.
Yeah. We know Wallace. He was in the tournament. He's at Syracuse. He's a
Syracuse,
stud.
he's great.
Can't miss.
Grab him.
He missed.
And
Peja was
Peja
great.
did not miss.
Not.
And by the way, we forget sometimes, but piling on to that, not that John Wallace came out and went bonkers. By the way, we're trying to grab Jerry here, but he's slippery. I think we'll get him here in just a second. What people forget is that what people forget is just the pause that Peja didn't come over here right away. So on top of everything, you had this. And by the way, I'm pausing. My head's gone because of this. I just got a text, and I'm going to read this on the air from Jeff Petrie. Speaking of, I just got a text from Jeff Petrie. He asked me to read this. This is involving Coach Carrill.
Oh, nice.
Coach Carrill meant so much to so many, and especially me. Playing for him some 55 years ago, he was a true force of nature who could create his own weather on a basketball court. He was a coach, teacher, friend, consigliere, and kindred spirit during my life. In his second act as an NBA assistant, he loved teaching and working with the players. I will miss him terribly, but he was a gift to me and to so many that crossed his path. Jeff.
That's awesome.
That's pretty awesome. He for as quiet, it's so funny. We were just talking about Jeff. For as quiet and reserved and mellow as Jeff is, God, can he turn a phrase?
Absolutely. He's brilliant with that. Always has been, always will be. I think you should read that again. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Jerry Reynolds will actually join.
Yeah, Jerry is confirmed in a few minutes here.
Once again, this just came in. This is a statement from Jeff Petrie that he provided to us. Coach Carrill meant so much to so many, and especially me. Playing for him some 55 years ago, he was a true force of nature who could create his own weather. I love that. Who could create his own weather on a basketball court. He was a coach, teacher, friend, consigliere, and kindred spirit during my life. In his second act as an NBA assistant, he loved teaching and working with the players. I will miss him terribly. He was a gift to me and to so many that crossed his path. Jeff Petrie. That's
awesome.
Follow that one, Jerry. That's if anybody can, it's Coach Jerry Reynolds. We'll pause. We'll take a break at the right time to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to Coach Jerry Reynolds as we continue to think about and speak fondly about Coach Pete Carril passing away yesterday at 92. We're back right after this.
Live and past broadcasts of the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross and Cattles and Rami.
Interviews, podcasts, and more.
They all live on the Sactown Sports 1140 app. Download the app now in the App Store and Google Play. shot right now. Call or text at 916-339-1140. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
Well, it's and unfortunately, we've been having these days more than I think any of us would like lately. A bittersweet day, as we're celebrating, mourning, and remembering the great coach Pete Carril. And we ended that segment with a beautiful statement Jeff Petrie provided us on Pete coaching and what he meant to Jeff. And there's no greater source than Jeff Petrie when it comes to talking about Coachy. But on that list is certainly going to be our next guest. And we love talking to him regardless of the subject because, well, number one, we love him. And number two, the history and the knowledge he provides, and humor. Many times humor and when we need it the most. As Jerry Reynolds joins us. Coach, it's Dave, it's Jason. Thanks for joining us. Good morning.
Yeah, I'm glad I could. Yeah, it's really very kind of a sad time, no question that Coach Carrill, and I know with as you pointed out, I mean with he and Jeff Petrie's relationship was just amazingly close for a lot of reasons, a lot of good reasons, and so a real loss to all of us, but especially to Jeff.
Yeah, but Jerry, you had obviously a relationship with Coachy. What did Pete Carril mean to you?
Well, I would say, first of all, the term basketball genius is really overworked, but in his case, it's really true. I really felt that, that he was an absolute genius in the field. I've always said, that you look at what he did at Princeton as a coach, you could put Bobby Knight, Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith, Roy Williams, whoever at Princeton, they could not have done better, and probably not as well. I mean, it's like I don't care what anybody says. There's nobody could have accomplished more at Princeton University than did Coach Pete Carril. I mean, he was just simply, kind of ahead of his time in a lot of ways. And so, the number one, that does come to mind, the basketball genius. Now, selfishly, I was going to say I really had a lot of time. We went on our daily walks on the road in particular, and just gosh, what a remarkable life he lived, and certainly he did. Just he got the full 92 years, and bless his heart. But I mean, the stories, how he got to where he was, and we just kind of spent a lot of time together going over a lot of stuff, not, in basketball, certainly King stuff, particularly, but, I always just thought that, his eye for the game was just remarkable. I know Doug Christie could probably fill you in a little bit on that as well, but, I certainly thought I understood the game a little bit, but we'd talk about things, and he'd always bring up things I hadn't thought about, and then, we always had a little game. I got to tell you, we're walking and telling stories, and we both had our list of stories, and when we're repeating ourselves, which old people do, you're supposed to hold up two fingers if you've heard the story. and I told, and of course we'd be holding up two fingers quite often. But a lot of times I told Coach, he said, "Well, you've heard this before." And I said, "Yeah, but it was so good I didn't want to hold up two fingers, and I wanted to hear it again." And I mean, to me, and he was just a special man, coach, and friend, and they really had a lot to do with the success of the Kings, and I mean, really great player development. I think his offensive, wisdom and knowledge. I thought Rick Adelman, obviously a great coach, did a marvelous job of utilizing and changing Pete's system to fit the Kings and the NBA, which of course, due to the shot clock, you really had to speed things up. to be successful, which of course Rick was able to do, and Pete understood. But I thought, it's just but Jeff and Rick and Pete and everything at that time was just an amazing coming together type thing.
Jerry Reynolds joining us. My guy Jay Mars said in my ear while you were talking, Jerry, he's going to use the 2 fingers thing on me from now on, which means I'm going to be seeing a peace sign a lot because I have that same habit.
I say, it worked. Like I say with Coach and myself too. He had to use the 2 fingers on me several times as well.
Coach, how did a short, shuffling East Coast Ivy League elderly man, how did he come into the NBA with its dunking and its passing behind the back flash and Showtime and young millionaires who are they don't need to be told anything. They're NBA players. How does this old man transition from Princeton to the NBA and not just do an adequate job, do a wonderful job, and affect, like we were talking about Doug Christie, Jason and I were during the break, so many of these players so deeply? How does he pull that off?
Well, I'd say it's simpler than you might think. He really knew what he's talking about.
Right.
That's the thing I would say with players. If you can give them information that's accurate and helps them, they'll pay attention. They might fight it at first, but once they realize you're helping them, you're actually helping them with good information, and then plus the thing about Coachy that a lot of times people didn't understand. He might look like your grandpa. But I guarantee you, he'd tell you where the bear craps, and there'd be no nonsense. I mean, he wasn't going to take any guff from anybody, and I've always said, that was the thing too. He was straightforward. He'd give you a little information you didn't want to hear, but you were going to hear it, and I think some of the, quite honestly, I guess I am old school like Coachy too, is that some too many of the guys don't hear enough of that because they get their butts kissed and patted since they're 14 years old and told how great they are and this or that, and some of them really aren't that great, really need to make changes and improvements. That's the reality of it in any profession.
Jerry, obviously you knew of his track record at Princeton. I mean, everybody knew him as the coach there. Did you have a relationship with him back to college, or it was the first time you really got to know him and formed that relationship was when he came here?
Yeah, my first relationship was when he came here, once he had left Princeton. So, certainly I was well aware of who he was and his background. So that part was established. And so it was easy for me to want to get to know him and things. And I mean, just right away, Pete, I was telling a story the other day that I always remember the first day he came to work, and we was at a summer league, and he just joined, and this practice was basically over when he showed up. And typical of Coachy, which I came to understand later, he grabbed Corliss Williamson, who was a rookie that time, and he went down to got him and took him down and worked him another hour and a half, on footwork and different things, and I said, whoa, this is a little different here. And I remember talking to Corliss afterwards, which you guys know is one of the special people to ever play for the Kings or coach for the Kings. And I asked him, I said, well, how'd it go? He said, man, I was tired and he worked my butt off. But boy, he really knows his stuff. I said, no kidding. And but that's who he was. I mean, you talk about a basketball junkie. I mean, that was his life. He might not know that he's supposed to change oil in his car, but he knew the right pivot mood.
Coach Jerry Reynolds joining us. Coach, obviously family, friends, all of that. That when you talk legacy, that comes number one. But I am curious in today's NBA. We talked earlier about the trails, the pieces of Coach's offense and things that he instituted that you still see in today's NBA game. And I'm curious if you would agree that his legacy, when it comes to how some of these offenses are run, especially, will live on for quite a while.
Oh, absolutely. Certainly, I think in the college game, they're getting back more and more to some of the philosophies and styles. I mean, obviously, you can't do exactly the Preston offense, because when it was at its most effective, they really needed and used the 35-second clock. But I think in the NBA, certainly the Kings themselves, with they were basically through Coach's philosophy. I mean, opening up the basket, getting the low post guys out of there, so you can have back cuts and drives to the basket. Certainly before that, I mean, everybody plopped the center down there with his back to the basket and clogged up the basket, and to where the cutters had nowhere to go. So but you see that with the Warriors on a different level. They don't use two centers or two high post people, but they'll use basically one or sometimes five out. Basically a 5-man offense, which is what the Kings did during those years, which was rare at that time, because the game had really resulted in the basically isolation basketball, or drop it into the center and draw double teams and kick it out and play out of that. And of course, some of the teams are doing that again now, which is as boring as crap. But I mean, you see the Warriors playing the 5-man game, and I think that's a real tribute to Coach Carrill, because I think that's what players like to play that way, and people like to watch it. At least people like me do.
I think you speak for a lot, if not all of us, Coach. Coach, I know the last time you came on was shortly after the great Bill Russell passed, and now Coach Carrill. I appreciate you coming on after these bittersweet things happen, but I do look forward to talking to you just about basketball here as the season comes up. We found out October 19th we got our first game versus Portland, and I can't wait to pick your brain. I know I speak for Jason Ross too when the Kings start playing basketball for real.
Well, anytime, there's not a lot left to pick, but you can pick away. And now I want to remind you, if I pass, I can't come on.
That's a great point.
That's not happening, Jerry.
It's never going to.
Okay.
I'm passing before you do, Jerry. Sacramento can't take that.
All right. So no, it's but really just I can't express enough. What a delightful, special man and coach he was, and we had a lot of good times, and I think the greatest thing though is he lived 92 and he lived every one of them, and that's what we all would like to do.
It's incredibly well said as usual, Coach. Love you. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jerry.
Talk to you soon. All right, thanks, guys.
Bye. That's Coach Jerry Reynolds. We will take a break. When we come back, the Sixers and Ben Simmons finally get an agreement. Tigers on the prowl, but off the course. We have NBA news when it comes to a neat quirk we talked about earlier in their schedule, and it sounds like a funny story, but it's not. A severe injury to a Little League World Series baseball player. We'll tell you how it happened. We'll do all that next.
Sactown Sports 1140 is your home of the Las Vegas 22 NFL season.
Tune your dial to 1140 for all Raiders games.
Plus, you can listen online at SactownSports.com and on the Sactown Sports 1140 app.
Hey, it's Carmichael Dave from my good friend Shelby at United Wholesale Lending. Shelby, Peter, the whole team over there at Refinance with
What's hot?
Yeah, hot. Real hot.
And what's not?
It's not good.
Brought to you by American Energy Air and Solar, Sacramento's complete heating and cooling company and second opinion partner.
What's hot? Weather in Sacramento.
Oh, 107.
Yay!
Yeah.
Out of here.
But sportically speaking, Shohei Ohtani has 165 strikeouts through 20 starts this season.
Shohei Ohtani!
That's a lot, considering that's the third most strikeouts through the first 20 starts of the season by an Angels pitcher in franchise history.
Wow.
Only behind Nolan Ryan in 1977, who had 211, and
Frank Tanana.
Nolan Ryan in 1973 with 182. Who's not? Stephen Piscotty, released by the A's.
Oh, that sucks.
One of the last few holdovers from the last few years where they were decent.
Woke up in the morning and found you on the pitcher's mound. Tanana. What do you think? I could do more later.
That's not good.
It's a pretty big lead up.
See, he comes in and just crushes you every single time.
News and notes right now.
That was on the
Stand by on this frequency.
Time for the news of the day.
Thank you for ruining the show and dropping a steamer on my journalistic integrity.
Today's important headlines, intelligent analysis, hard-hitting interviews.
Yeah, this is none of those things.
Here's Carmichael Dave and Jason Ross.
Oh my God, I love those guys.
Oh, a lot to get to. Ben Simmons and the Sixers have reached a settlement on the grievance for missing the salary. Nobody cares. Let's move on, but wanted to announce it because it's news. Tiger Woods will be in Delaware as the PGA players are holding a players-only meeting, and everything's on the table. You can fire, hire, sell, buy, sell. Ricky Fowler made a statement about the tour and its handling. He said, quote, "I've told the tour and Jay when I've met with them that I don't think they have handled it very well at all. A lot of the stuff that has happened in the last 6 months to a year is just starting to happen. To me, they're reacting to it versus when the talks of the Premier Golf League and LIV came about. That's when they should have been proactive and gotten in front of it." He had more to say, but he missed the cut.
That was mean.
Is that too soon?
Yeah.
Apologize to Ricky Fowler
I
of Silver Spoon's
I like
fame.
Ricky Fowler. You son of a gun. To go from laughing to not laughing, because when you read the headline, they're like, "Oh wow, that's a slit." No, this is not. Little League World Series. A 12-year-old player from Utah whose team is set to play in the Little League World Series. You know, kids fall off bunk beds all the time. This and that. He fell off the top bunk. He had to undergo emergency surgery for a severe head injury, which he suffered falling off the top bunk. Easton Oliverson, who pitches and plays outfield for the Snow Canyon team out of Santa Clara, Utah, suffered the head injury when he fell in a dorm located in Williamsport. He was then airlifted to a children's hospital in the state where he remains in intensive care. Please keep Easton in your thoughts. That is just maybe the greatest thing in his life, and that something like that happens.
And I swear to God, I'm not trying to make light of this,
got it.
but the top bunks usually have like a
little
bar.
Thing.
Did
they
not?
I don't know. You would think so. I mean, when I was a kid, everyone wants the top bunk. That's the coolest thing in the world.
Which, by the way, super overrated.
No, I agree. I just don't want to sleep on the bottom bunk because I'd always be afraid the top bunk will collapse. Never did I think I would fall out of the top bunk.
Don't watch there's this movie called Step Brothers.
Yeah,
it'll.
Yeah, gonna be his friends.
Anyways, I bring that up so everybody can please keep Easton in your thoughts and his family in your thoughts today. We get to the national days of the week. The only one I care about is National Rum Day, Airborne Day. I do care about that. That celebrates our military and their airborne divisions. National Roller Coaster Day. Normally we would tell stories about roller coasters, but nope. Today is National Tell a Joke Day. Jason Ross.
Yes.
I want to see if I can get you.
Okay.
Would you mind turning the just fading it down real quick? Okay. And by the way, hold up in honor of Pete Carril. Hold up 2 fingers if you've heard the joke before. Okay. Why did the golfer bring 2 pairs of pants?
Why?
In case he got a hole in one.
You laughed at that?
Yes.
Really?
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Number 2. This is an oldie. How do you stop a bull from charging? How? Take away his credit card. Wow. You probably know this one, I'm sure. 2 fingers. How do you follow Will Smith in the mud? Follow the Fresh Prince. Gets me every time. Really?
I like the golf one.
What type of noise does a witch's vehicle make? Broom, broom. What's brown and sticky?
Sticky or stinky?
Yeah, what's brown and sticky? A stick.
These are really bad.
How do you get a country girl's attention? A tractor.
Also, speaking of National Roller Coaster Day, have you ever been a roller coaster blogger?
What?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Have you ever met a roller coaster blogger?
Mm-hmm.
People that blog about roller
You got it.
No, that I know of.
Roller coaster snobs. It's a thing.
What did the police officer say to his belly button? You're under a vest. Last one. My wife asked me to stop singing the song Wonderwall. I said maybe. Oh, I'll stop. But I sang I said maybe because it's like that's what they do in the song by Oasis, Liam Gallagher. Celebrity birthdays.
We talked about her before. The one, the only Madonna celebrating a birthday today. Dave, you said her best song was what again?
I think her best song is a song called Oh Father.
Oh Father. Okay.
Oh Father.
Well, how old is she today? What is she turning today on this August 16th?
62.
63.
64 is the correct answer.
Champion.
Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when Madonna's 64?
I will.
The answer is yes.
How about Angela Bassett?
The great Angela Bassett.
Yes.
Stella.
I'm going to stick with 63.
I'm going to go to 64.
Okay. She was 63 yesterday. She's 64 today. J-Mar is right on the dot.
I don't like how you follow me. You play Price is Right rules and you just go one up.
J-Mars, you go first
down.
on this one.
All right.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Steve Carril
Oh, Steve.
from The Office.
Steve is 55.
54.
Oh, so you're playing those rules. Good job. Good idea. That was really well thought out. He is 60 today. You went the wrong way.
Wow, not the Nutri-Grain bar. Come
Half
on.
a Nutri-Grain bar.
I was saying there's still something in that.
There was.
All right. Happy birthday
I
today
hate this show.
to Rumor Willis,
Oh.
the daughter of Bruce and Demi Moore.
Oh, I thought that was Don Trell's daughter.
I went to
That
school
was
with
just
Nikki
a
Willis.
You did?
Cool.
I heard a room, me. I remember that song. Was that Bananarama?
Yes.
Okay.
Rumor Willis.
Yeah,
is
how
how
old's
old
Rumor Willis?
29.
30.
34.
Boom. See,
Really?
Rumor
So easy it
Willis.
is, so easy.
Wait, so Demi and Bruce have a child that's like approaching 40. That's
Yes.
Yeah.
wow.
How about
Okay.
that? What do you
All right.
think?
How about this, guys? Happy birthday today to Kathy Lee Gifford.
Ah,
True story. My next door neighbors growing up, Justin, Dallas, Casey, and Tage, 4 kids, their dad's ex-wife was her.
okay.
Yeah, it was really weird. Anyways, she is 80.
Oh, she's not 80. She's 74.
She is 69.
Wow, she's young. Nice. Wait, hold on. Which one? What was
Call
her?
her 80.
Wait, who was this again? It was Kathy Lee Gifford.
Remember, it was your
Oh, never
four
mind.
kids'
No,
friends.
it was. I was thinking. No, swear to God. I
You
was
think of Kathy Lee Crosby?
Yes. Okay. Dang it.
So they didn't know Kathy Lee Gifford.
No, I don't think they did Kathy Lee Gifford. It was Kathy
That's
Lee
incredible.
Crosby.
Well, the story just not as good anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. Happy birthday to you, Darvish.
Who's Darvish?
You.
Oh,
Happy
me.
birthday to you,
You.
Darvish. He is 33.
29.
36.
Boom! I
Really?
knew it. Yes.
You, Darvish.
She just
Wow.
looks young.
Oh,
And happy birthday to director James Cameron.
Oh, with
Oh,
the
JC.
avatars are coming out again.
no more
breaking
Terminators.
all the records. I just want the. I'm actually excited for the. Everyone's like, we don't need an Avatar. I'm excited for the Avatar. Sorry, I liked the movie. It was great.
How old is he?
74.
68.
He is 68 today.
I feel
Right
like you know what
on
happened.
the
You know
butt.
what I'm starting to wonder is that if he reads celebrity birthdays before he comes.
I do not, or else I would have gotten them all right.
No, you throw a couple off.
No, why would I
You
do
throw
that?
a couple off just to do it.
Yeah, it could be a thing.
Who knows that James Cameron is 68?
J. Mars.
I didn't. I guessed.
By the way, on this date, you know what was released? The Usual Suspects.
Oh,
That movie.
yes,
Is that
those
the
guys.
greatest one of the greatest.
Yes.
Kind of surprise.
Yes.
Mystery endings.
Yes. I know Kevin Spacey, as you know, Kevin Spacey right now, but God, he was amazing in that movie.
What about Sammy Sosa?
By the way, have you not seen The Usual Suspects?
I have not.
Of course you haven't. Yeah, I don't. Remember the scene when they're all in the lineup?
Yes.
And they have to read this, give me the keys.
Not ringing a bell.
So all the actors about the middle of it, they start laughing. Benicio del Toro, what's his name from The Thing?
Yeah, that guy.
A lot of guys. Kevin, not Spacey, the other Kevin, Pollock, I believe.
Yes.
So anyways, they start laughing in the middle of it. This is a true story. You can look it up. Because according to legend, Benicio del Toro farted like 12 times in a row during the take, and they all just started breaking up. He says somebody else did, but there was definitely gas passing during that scene, and it turned it from a serious scene to where they started laughing. That was not in the script.
Never smelt it, dealt it.
For Jerry Reynolds, for Jason Ross, for Jay Mars, for Kyle, not that Kyle, new Kyle in the back. I'm Dave. Jim Rome is next. Love you all. Bye-bye now.
The start of the NFL season is upon us, and Sactown Sports 1140 has all your coverage.